Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Two drivers' dream of making it to the Daytona 500 will be realized tonight. We'll set the field for next Sunday's race, as some will have to deal with the disappointment. That's straight ahead from Daytona. It's a cool, crisp night. The Can Am Duel race is ready to go. So 2 races, a doubleheader, 60 laps, 150 miles each. 3 drivers vying for 1 spot in each of these races and then setting the positioning for Sunday's running of the Daytona 500. We're trackside here in Daytona at the fan zone near the start-finish line. Michael Waltrip, who will be racing in the second duel. I'm Chris Myers. Thanks for being with us here on FS1 from Daytona. Michael, a variety of strategies. This is always a risk-reward sport, but how does that figure specifically tonight?
Well, just think about Chase Elliott, Dale Jr., Matt Kenseth. They've been rewarded. They have fast cars. They just have to protect those cars now. But there's 6 guys led by Michael McDowell. They have to risk everything in hopes of making the Daytona 500. That's where the risk comes in.
Yeah, and a handful of drivers having to start at the back of the pack, and some important names, Kevin Harvick among those. You're in a backup car because of what happened here in Wednesday's practice.
Yeah, all on the track. Chris, we're running 195 miles an hour in a turn, and a chain reaction wreck developed. You can see right there the 83 car bumped around. That's me sliding sideways into the outside wall. This will dash people's hopes and chances of taking their best car to the Daytona 500, but they will have cars they'll have to start in the rear end.
And you see Trevor Bayne, Greg Biffle, Stenhouse Jr., Harvick in the first duel, along with you, Kyle Larson. Again, Martin Truex Jr. never actually got on the track to qualify, so those cars are moved behind him in duel 2. What did Denny Hamlin tell you about dealing with traffic here?
Boy, he said he doesn't know. Think about what he did in the Unlimited. He started out, ran in the back on purpose to miss the big crash. By the way, he got in a wreck doing that. Then he pitted early, ran up front, never was in the middle of that pack. We're going to learn tonight what it takes to win the Daytona 500. You're going to get in different positions throughout the course of the race. How does your car handle? How do you push when you need to push and hold back when you need to hold back?
Well, we continue to see, it seems like, the dominance, the Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets and the Joe Gibbs Toyotas.
That's the story. And in this first race, particularly, because you got Dale Jr. and Chase up front. The second race, there's 3 Gibbs cars. Look for them to be the story in the second one.
And the pressure tightened a bit. Remember, it's only a 40-car field for this year's Daytona 500 as opposed for 43, and they'll set that positioning tonight in both races. So let's head back down to the track.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, Vice President of Global Sales and Consumer Experience for BRP Incorporated, Steve Pelletier.
Drivers, start your engine.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won a dual race 4 times, so we'll be watching closely in duel 1. Let's now go upstairs. Welcome the newest member of our team, Jeff Gordon, who's with, of course, Darrell Waltrip and Mike Joy. Mike?
Thank you, Chris. Tonight is unique in the entire NASCAR season. This is the only race for which the starting positions are determined heads up, side by side, green flag to checker. But Jeff, the front row's already set for Sunday. If you're Chase Elliott or Matt Kenseth in race 2, you have the pole for the 500. How much are you willing to risk that to perform well tonight?
Yeah, it's a great accomplishment to know that you've qualified for the Daytona 500 on the front row, but it is absolutely terrifying as a driver to know that you have to bring it back in one piece here tonight.
Yeah, if he goes to a backup car, he'll have to start in the back on Sunday. Darrell, this is no mere short track heat race like we see at tracks all across America. This race has meaning, it has risk, and as Chris pointed out, reward.
Yeah, don't ever underestimate the importance of these races. Some of these teams have not made pit stops, so they're going to get to go over the wall tonight and change some tires and get the rust off. You can practice all you want, but there's nothing like being in real competition when there's something on the line, and there's a lot on the line tonight for a bunch of these guys.
18 drivers in each of these 2 races trying to earn a starting spot in the 500 up near the front. And yet, there are drivers trying to race their way in tonight. Laps, 150 miles.
It's on the line now, boys. Who's going to make it? Aggression. I mean, these guys go out there and they're racing like the whole year is on the line. I mean, this is going to be a huge battle. These guys are the best in the world.
On Fox Sports 1, it's the Can Am Duel at Daytona. A unique 2-race qualifying format to set the stage for stock car racing's biggest day, Sunday's Daytona 500 on Fox. The field is split evenly into 2 races. We'll have a look at the starting lineup for duel number 1. Chase Elliott, the 500's youngest pole sitter ever. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s won a dual race 4 times.
Mike, in that second row, 2 fast forwards. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., best start ever in a duel, and that rookie, Ryan Blaney, he's locked into the 500 on time.
Row 3, the famous number 3 Austin Dillon starting 5th, starting 6th, 5-time Speed Weeks winner Denny Hamlin.
Row 4, the 2015 Daytona 500 winner Joey Logano and Casey Kane, a dual winner in 2010.
Yeah, rolling off in row 5 there, you've got Paul Menard, who finished 3rd in the Unlimited last Saturday night. And you got Brad Keselowski, believe it or not, has not won a race here at Daytona.
Row 6, starting 11th, Greg Biffle won his very first race here at Daytona in 03. And starting next to him in 12th, Brian Scott, a rookie this year.
Now, Michael McDowell, 3rd fastest among the open drivers, those not guaranteed into the 500 on charter. He could make it in on time. He could race his way in. Regan Smith is locked in. He was an Xfinity winner here 2 years ago.
Yeah, in row 8, we got another rookie there, Chris Buescher. He's a champion from the Xfinity Series. And Bobby Labonte driving the 32, a champion.
And in row 9, starting 17th, 2011 Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bayne. And starting next to him, Clint Boyer in the 18th position.
Cole Witt has to race his way into the 500 to make the field. And David Reagan, who won here in July 2011.
Final row here is row 21, or row 11. We've got Josh Wise, best finish here, 5th in 2014. And Kevin Harvick bringing up the rear with 7 Daytona wins. And he won the duel in 2013. Let's dial him up, what do you say?
How about that?
Kevin Harvick is DW. Got a copy, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Buddy, you got a lot of work ahead of you tonight. It's a long way to the front. What's your plan?
Well, Darrell, this is kind of like just one of the battles in the war here. You know, we had a little mishap in qualifying, so we'll work our way up through the field here and hopefully try to make our position better. And Rodney's giving me the green light to just go race and not worry about anything. So hopefully everything works out and our Jimmy John's Chevrolet runs good like it did in practice, and we'll go from there and start again on Sunday.
Kevin, what can you learn tonight? I mean, what are you going to take away from this race tonight?
This is really just about track position. I think you'll learn whether you have enough speed in your car. I think the handling of it, it might give you a couple hints as to which direction it might lean, but it's so cold that I think the handling is really insignificant tonight as far as what you're going to learn. So it's really just more about me and trying to figure out just the moves and things that I need to make and where my car's strong and not strong, and just trying to get a better starting spot for Sunday is really the only goal.
All right, buddy, good luck and be safe.
Thank you, guys.
He starts 22nd. The further forward he finishes, the farther up he starts the 500. A little chilly here in Daytona. Let's get down to our NASCAR Fox All-Star Pit Crew, beginning with Matt Yocum.
Mike, the duel has always been Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s playground. Over the past 16 years, 9 times he has finished first or second. He starts alongside his rookie teammate. Now, they did work a lot together during practice, primarily Chase following Jr. But Dale told me, simply put, in this event and on Sunday, you don't have any teammates, you don't have any friends. You have to be a one-man army. Jamie Little?
Well, Denny Hamlin kicked things off on Speedways with a bang. He won the Sprint Unlimited on Saturday, but that was with the help of his teammates. Tonight in this race, duel number 1, he doesn't have a single teammate. They're all in duel number 2. So I asked him what his strategy is. He said, unlike normal, I will not drop to the back intentionally knowing I don't have help. I'm going to race toward the front and race for the win. Chris Neville?
Well, Casey Kane won the duel back in 2010 and had back-to-back runner-up finishes in 2013 and 2014. This format, it just suits his style. But he didn't have the speed in qualifying that his Hendrick teammates did. But yesterday in drafting practice, he was strong. And his crew chief, Keith Rodden, he thinks that they could possibly be the strongest of the Hendrick 4. And that is a big statement considering the speed we've seen from his teammates. Casey Kane, he rolls off 8th. Mike?
Thank you, Chris. My great pleasure to welcome back for the 16th year our strategist and rules expert, 2-time Daytona 500 winning crew chief, Larry McReynolds.
Now, Mike, you heard Kevin Harvick talk about track position. Even at a track this size, these teams are doing all they can to keep that track position. I think this is a one pit stop race. We get beyond lap 15, get a caution, I think you'll see that one trip to pit road. Now, let's take a look at our race analysis. 60 laps, 150 miles. The ever-important pit road speed, 55 miles per hour. There's the fuel window, 40 to 46 laps. You heard about Kevin Harvick going to the rear, time disallowed, and the 3 Roush Fenway Ford drivers had to make a gear change. They will be back there with Kevin Harvick. Mike?
Thanks, Larry. Field rumbling around at pace car speed. Third car on the inside, that yellow and red Ford, is Joey Logano, who won the 500 a year ago for Roger Penske. And he got a few words just before rolling off from the captain.
Joey, let's have a good one here tonight. You got your dad up here with me. We're in the same place we were last year.
That worked last year. No reason why it shouldn't this time. Thank you.
That's Roger Penske to one of his 2 drivers, Brad Keselowski the other. And there are the spotters up on top of the roof, 1 per car, in communication with their driver and crew chief. And you can see it's gotten a little brisk here. I know that's little comfort to those of you way up in the Northeast in New England, where you haven't seen 0 in the evening for a while. Here it's 59 degrees. Winds out of the Northeast as they've been all day, 15 miles an hour. But it's been clear skies here all day. There is the 2016 Toyota Camry XSE that leads the field here in Daytona. And we listened in on Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his team.
Like the pace car's speed is don't show any green lights or nothing. So that's how small a window we have for the driver on the dash. You know what I'm saying?
Drivers adapting to the new digital dash or glass panel instead of the gauges we used to have. There's a look at it. Greg Biffles. A lot of things are new this year, and that is one of the newest.
Look at all those
big innovations.
Wow.
Butterflies?
Absolutely. If you're Chase Elliott, definitely. I loved hearing that Kevin Harvick is out there. He's going to go race and race hard. We're going to see a lot of action coming from the back and the front.
The pole sitter has lane choice. Everyone else lines up in their respective numbered order. Chase Elliott has chosen the outside of row 1. Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the inside as the pace car hits pit road. And on a Thursday night, we're ready to set the field for the 500. We're racing. On the break, Elliott got a little push from the 21 of Ryan Blaney, dropped down to pick up Dale Earnhardt Jr., then moved up to the top of the racetrack here in turn 4.
I think that might have been Chase's, in the 24, Chase Elliott's method to his madness. He thought he'd get a better push from that 21 than he would the 3 car down there of Ty Dillon, or Austin Dillon, sorry.
I think this is an incredible moment for Chase Elliott and a huge lesson. If you can keep Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind you in this race, and I know they're teammates, but Jr.'s so good at these restrictor plate tracks, and he wants to win this race. He's going to be doing everything he can, and Chase has to be watching in that mirror to see how he can block that pass if it comes.
Yeah, I think Junior will go to the lead. I don't think he'll sit there too long. I think he goes. Well, you got to.
Elliott just dropped right down, and Earnhardt goes upstairs. Now, no pressure, but the last rookie to drive the 24 here won his dual race, his first time out. That
there
was Jeff Gordon.
I think Junior will go right to the lead, guys. That was my thought. I don't know if he'll make it or not, but that's what he wants to do.
Hamlin's going to shove Dale hard here. You got big help behind Blaney, tight behind you, majority top though.
That is Eddie DeHaan, spotter for the number 24. That's Hamlin in the 11 up high.
Be real careful with a big push off of 4. All right, side by side. The bottom has better help here. The bottom has help.
That's such an important message to hear, that the bottom has more help. That means the bottom lane is a little bit more organized, more cars. Doesn't necessarily mean that line is absolutely going to come forward, but the chances are far better for that line to move.
Matt Yoakum.
Alan Gustafson told me, Mike, that basically Eddie DeHaan's role takes on an even greater importance tonight. He's got to educate Chase as to what's going on around him, and Chase has to let Eddie drive the car to a certain extent. In fact, Eddie just told him on the radio a few moments ago that he's going to basically use driver names, not car numbers. That way Chase doesn't have to think so much when he's out front.
I like that. Keep it simple. Don't confuse him. Right now, he just needs to focus on driving his car and stay out of trouble.
Not seeing a lot of organization in that bottom lane right now. You've got Austin Dillon that's trying to pop down to the bottom side, but looks like he's going to actually go backwards as Joey Logano fills that gap right up the middle and moves that lane forward.
Mighty dicey right here in the middle of 3 and 4. These cars 3 wide already and moving around quite a bit. The wind has settled down. It's not quite as windy as it's been all afternoon. That helps a lot.
Earnhardt to the front. You'll notice on our Fox ticker, different colored backgrounds behind some drivers in the field. There's Ryan Blaney in green, and that is because he is in a position to lock into the field where he's running right now. Now, he's guaranteed in the 500 on speed from Sunday, but he can lock into a better starting spot by being the first of those open drivers to finish. Now, Michael McDowell in that spot. You see Cole Witt is right now out of a qualified spot. That affects only the 4 drivers with the asterisk next to their name.
Heard Keith Rodden say they thought that 5 car of Casey Kane was pretty strong, and right now he's looking pretty stout. Here comes Harvick. He's found his way to the front, too.
Where did he come from?
Yeah, where'd he come from?
When they're 3 by 3 by 3, it makes it a lot easier to get to about mid-pack because you're already there.
He's up to 9th, and I'm joking because we used to say that a lot early in Kevin Harvick's career. That's how he earned the nickname the closer. Chris Neville.
Well, over the last 2 years, Kevin Harvick just hasn't been happy with his race cars in practice on the restrictor plate track. Rodney Childers, his crew chief, said every practice we've had those last 8 races, he just has gotten out and says the car isn't strong. Well, today, he got out of that car yesterday and today and said, you know what, this is the best restrictor plate car we have had, and we're seeing that right now.
I think what we're also seeing is at the front right now, I believe what are probably the 3 best cars in that 11 is coming to trying to find the lead. We know he's strong, won the Unlimited here last Saturday night. He and Dale Jr. are the 2 cars I think you're going to have to deal with.
And Harvick goes back to 15th spot, just like that.
You picked the wrong line, Mike, and you just, you get no help. You don't get any push from the line you're in, and you just go backwards.
I always found that bottom lane, it was so inconsistent. A lot of cars will go up the middle, and drivers choose that middle lane, and that lane will go forward. And it's all about getting help. If you go down to the bottom, even if you have the momentum, it's amazing how if they don't go with you, you lose all that momentum. As we see 4 cars kind of playing the strategy here in the back.
Yes, all 3 of the Roush Fenway cars have dropped to the back. Stenhouse, Biffle, and Bain. And further back behind them is the 32 of Bobby Labonte.
Well, those guys start in the back, and I think they're sitting back there right now just watching and, see if anything's going to happen or not. It's pretty dicey up front. A lot of movement, not a bad idea.
A lot of time, 8 down, 52 to go. When the Speedway opened in 1959, these were 100-mile races, and they counted for series points. As soon as the cars could go 100 miles on one tank of gas, they increased the length to 125, and now to 150 miles.
Yeah, it got to where you could make 125 miles on a pit stop, so that was kind of, sometimes wasn't that great of a race, but now you got to make one.
Brad Keselowski to second and hunting the lead in that white Ford.
Now, if he plays this right, he'll get a big push from Denny Hamlin behind him, maybe get enough momentum to make a move on Dale Jr. Dale Jr. is so good at being out front, maintaining that lead. Yes, he has a fast race car, but he and his spotter are so good at making sure they block all those moves that come their way.
Matt?
Mike, we saw a lot of debris issues in the Sprint Unlimited on Saturday night. Greg Ives told Jr. and his spotter, TJ Majors, keep an eye because there is debris on the grill.
Yep, sure is. You see that piece right there on the grill. That's and it's right in that sweet spot. That's where they take the air in. That could be a problem.
And we saw what happened with Keselowski in the Unlimited the other night when he had that on his grill. It was a big problem. This doesn't seem to be stuck in quite the same spot as what we saw with Brad the other night, but we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on it.
Pretty serious. We've had a lot of debris on the racetracks. I think it's because of all the construction. I think there's a, I know they've done a nice job of preparing this speedway, but it's been so windy, it's just blowing paper everywhere around the racetrack.
All right, teammates finding each other. Paul Menard back at 5th. He has Austin Dillon right behind him. They both run for Richard Childress Racing, the 27 and the 3. The 2 and the 22 are the Penske Fords, and the 21 of Ryan Blaney trying to get up with them. They're a Penske affiliated team. Chase Elliott on the bottom. Denny Hamlin in this race, as pointed out, has no friends. All of his Joe Gibbs Toyota teammates are in race number 2. Jamie?
Quite the opposite of what we saw at the end of the Sprint Unlimited when he had all of his teammates protecting him. Right now, no help. He dropped back. I talked to Mike Wheeler, his crew chief. He told me if they're running mid-pack, their goal is to make it to lap 13. After that, if the caution comes out, they will pit, and ideally they would take gas only and no changes since it is such a short race.
$11 down, 49 to go in the first of 2 races that make up the Can Am Duel at Daytona and set the field for Sunday's Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in front of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. $14 laps complete in the first race of 2 that make up the Can Am Duel. All green flag racing so far. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has led 12 laps. 500 pole sitter Chase Elliott in the 24 has led 2.
Mike,
go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It seemed like Dale Jr. really gets off the corner well, gets off with a little bit better acceleration. Not sure if just the car's a little freer, maybe a little more power. I don't know, but he really gets off of the corner well.
We're seeing these cars really get stacked up down the back straightaway and get a lot of energy and momentum built up between them and getting some big runs. I mean, this is what I love about Brad Keselowski. He wants to lead. You can tell he knows he has his teammate behind him that will stick with him wherever he goes, and he's trying to utilize that opportunity to make a pass on Dale Jr.
And I'll tell you something else. That 27 car running in 4th place. He finished 3rd here last Saturday night in the Unlimited. Paul Menard, Slugger Labby, they got a good race car here this weekend. He's sitting in a really good position right now early in this race.
There's his Chevrolet in 4th. Looking back from Joey Logano's Ford. Brad Keselowski sitting in 2nd, has won the Sprint Cup Championship. He's never won a race of any kind at Daytona. What would this checkered flag mean?
Oh, it would mean a lot. Every driver wants to win at Daytona, and Brad is a student of the sport. He loves the history of it. His family's been in racing for many years, so I can promise you he wants to not just win the Daytona 500. He wants to win every race he's in here at Daytona.
And my bad on Slugger Labby. That's on the 27 car. He's not the crew chief anymore. Justin Alexandria. So. I'll just shout out to Slugger and give some credit to Justin.
But getting back to Paul Menard showed us some great moves on the restrictor plate tracks in the past, but also this week he's been very impressive. and he's already up there in the top 5. I look for him to make some moves. As we see Denny Hamlin popping out there in the back, you know Denny doesn't like to stay in line.
Now Ryan Blaney, who is the fastest of the open cars, one of which will transfer in on speed. He's locked into the 500, but does he have an issue? Let's find out.
Mike, there is a concern with the 21. Ryan Blaney telling his team that there's a vibration. 5 laps later, he says it has gotten worse. It feels like it's in the front of the race car. They're wondering if possibly a truck arm mount or something along those lines, but it continues to get worse on the 21.
Meanwhile, something is dragging from the back of Austin Dillon's car, Larry.
Yeah, it looks like the rear bumper bar. Again, we've been seeing these guys kind of beat on each other on the straightaway, and that's actually the rear bumper bar that goes behind the actual bumper cover, and I think that's dragging. I don't think NASCAR is going to let that drag for long.
Yeah, and that is Slugger Labby's car. He's a crew chief on the 3 car.
Now the 21 situation for Ryan Blaney, he's a rookie. He's locked into the 500 on speed. Should he not complete this race, he would fall back on his speed and he would have a spot in the 500.
That if that is a bumper bar, and I believe Larry's right, that thing looks like it's about ready to fly off of there.
Yeah, and that's a really bad position to be in if you're Ryan Blaney behind that car, because if that does come off, it's coming right through your nose, and that's going to cause a lot of problems. At this point in the race, people are getting settled in. That now it's about handling. Now is when, yeah, you're checking your speed on your car, but this is where you start to try to figure out, what do I need for the Daytona 500? We're going to be in these types of positions in the 500. What's my car drive like when I'm 5th in line, when I'm 8th in line?
It's kind of what we were talking about in the opening there. You can't simulate this kind of stuff till you get in competition. Everybody's kind of nice to each other when you're practicing, but all bets are off when you're doing it for real.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to lead after 20 laps.
I know, Barry, I was thinking this.
23 laps complete, top of the screen. They're in turn 3 from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything they learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what rolls into yours from Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to lead. Here goes Keselowski down to the inside. Will he get any help? Nope. Back up in line.
And Mike, there's a lot of strategy going on. I know we're look like we're just riding around the race, but we're really not. There's communication between the crew chief, the driver, adjustments, strategy, who's fast, who isn't, what line to be in. There's a lot going on right now.
It's a 15-car draft. Now, Paul Menard's race has not been without incident, even though he rides along in 4th place.
Hey, I got something on my grill. Take a look if you can. Water shot up 20 degrees. Fine. Yeah, you got something dead center.
He had picked up what looked like a piece of plastic. You'll see it here on this replay. And the way you get rid of it is you get up close to another car where there's that air pressure differential.
Boom.
190 mile an hour car wash. Boom. Just like that.
I tell you, that Brad Keselowski, he is working, man. He's looked everywhere. He's tried high. He's thinking high. He's thinking low. He wants Joey Logano in the 22 to help him, but they don't quite have the speed to get up there and challenge Dale Jr.
Well, and you would never do the things that Brad's doing if you didn't have your teammate behind you and you guys didn't have a plan going into it, because, you know, he is, I love it. He's trying a lot of different things. Now, right here, he's backing up to that 22 car, and that gives him a big surge, a big pocket of air that gets built up on the front of that nose of the 22 and gives him this big surge. I'd like to see Brad, if he really wants to pass Junior. Right now, I think he's just playing. He's just trying different things out. And we see Denny's not playing. Denny is always making moves. You got to love that about Denny Hamlin. You know, he's never content with just being in line riding. He wants to get back up to the front. But back to Brad Keselowski, I'd like to see him use that brake and back up and stack some cars up a little bit more. If he knows that car's going to stay with him, go ahead and do that.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. That 11 car is he's going to get up there and challenge all of them, because he's coming on the inside with help.
Telemetry in on the 2 and 22 running second and third.
We saw the 11 car Denny Hamlin in practice, Mike. If you remember, he sliced and diced right through a bunch of cars like this right to the front. That 11 is bad fast. We saw that Saturday night in the Unlimited, and he's pushing his way right up there to the front.
Now, if you saw right there, Joey Logano went down to the bottom before Keselowski did, and I think that was a sign to Brad to say, hey, that inside lane is looking good, carrying some momentum. Think about blocking that inside lane if it comes.
I always like what people say, well, why don't they pass Dale Jr.? Well, because he's got a faster car. That might be one reason why.
Well, and it takes a lot more than just one or two cars to work together. This is why the leader has such an advantage and why Dale Jr. loves to get out front and control the race.
Now look at this battle. The black 59 with the yellow number on the roof, the black 98. They are trying to race their way into the Daytona 500. Michael McDowell from Glendale, Arizona has that spot. Currently 10th. Cole Witt. His only possibility is to race his way in that 98. You see him getting passed now by Kevin Harvick. And Ryan Blaney can either race his way in or fall back on his time trial speed. But right now, McDowell in that red and black, yellow numeraled 59, has the transfer spot. And that's $150,000 or more, whether you make the 500 or whether you drive home tomorrow.
And that continues on when you leave Daytona. That can really just build so much more momentum and really get that team in a great position. We see Ryan Blaney coming to pit road.
It's not a bad strategy. Come now. See what they do on their stop.
This is right at the halfway point, so from a fuel standpoint, tire standpoint, it's a pretty good time to come in. As we see the 22 go to the outside of the 2, maybe the 2's coming to pit road this time also.
Matt?
And Mike, the problem has gotten worse for Ryan Blaney. At one point, he told his spotter, Josh Williams, tell the 24 to go around me. My car is vibrating so much, I don't want to wreck him and take him out. They finally told him, just come on down, we're going to jack it up and see, but he thinks it's the truck arm.
Blaney will go a lap down as a result of this pit stop, which if the rest of the field has to stop under green will not hurt him. But should a caution come out, well, he'd get the free pass and be back on the lead lap.
And Mike, he did a really smart thing there. Ryan Blaney, he could have blended up on the bottom lane with his left tires on the yellow line, but he saw that pack coming. He stayed on the apron until they cleared him.
I'm not so sure he knows the rules here at Daytona versus Talladega. I mean, that cost him a lot of time right there. You can actually get your left sides on the yellow line as you go into turn 1. And yes, the pack was coming and that was smart. But as soon as they went by, you needed to get up on the banking.
I'm not so sure that his problems are a lot worse than that. I mean, he's fallen way back. He's complaining about a vibration. Remember, they've had some engine problems on these restrictor plate races last year. So there might be something more serious going on with that baby.
And here comes Paul Menard up the outside, leading that group. Now Logano looks up to cover the spot. Now Logano brings his Ford back down in front of his teammate, the Deuce, Keselowski. Now Clint Boyer in the number 15 Chevrolet. He switched teams this year. Boyer has faded to 17th. What's up, Jamie?
He has. He hasn't made much headway. You mentioned the team. Everything is new for him. H. Scott Motorsports, it's a Hendrick chassis, Stewart Haas bodies, and a new crew chief. And yesterday during practice, he told us they thought they found a little bit more speed, but tonight that has not been the case. He's been frustrated. The car's not good. They have quite a few things to work through with all this newness.
And when I think of Clint Boyer, he's such a talented race car driver, incredible experience at all different types of tracks, especially on these restrictor plate tracks. We've seen him do well. I thought even if they were lacking in speed, he would have no problem being right in the mix of things.
Yeah, I just think it shows the importance. I know the driver makes all the difference in the world who's in the car, but by the same token, you got to have a car.
Well, whatever was behind Austin Dillon's car looks like it broke off.
He's kind of become stubby now.
We're kind of wondering that may not have been something metal because there were no sparks. Interesting. Whatever it was, it's gone. That was Brian Scott right behind him. We are green through 33 laps. 3 of the last 4 years, at least one of these races has gone caution free.
Hey, I can't imagine.
Racing under green at 36 laps, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has led all but 2 of them. He continues to lead Joey Logano with Brad Keselowski and Paul Menard side by side for 3rd. But the big battle is at 11th place, where Michael McDowell, Levine Family Racing, merging with Circle Sport Racing. They're running 2 cars here. One for Ty Dillon, one for McDowell. And they're trying to race their way into the 500. And Cole Witt in the number 98. Trying to deny them as they battle 11th and 13th now, as we're past the halfway point without a caution flag. Only Ryan Blaney has been to pit road, Larry.
And Mike, we talked about one stop, and it looks like this stop possibly may be a green flag stop in the next 5 to 8 laps. And I think because they only need about a half a can of fuel, we'll see a lot of teams go with fuel only. But if you're going to do that, you can't slide those tires coming on the pit road. Possibly the difference between who gets in the 500 between McDowell in the 59 and Cole Witt in the 98 could be this pit stop coming up.
Absolutely. 38 complete, 22 to go. Michael Waltrip's with us. He'll be in race number 2 of the Can-Am Duel. Michael, what are you seeing here that may help or affect your race strategy?
Well, I kind of thought the high side would prevail. They would run around the top of the racetrack and get in single file, try to log some laps. This is a qualifying race, you know, and the guys up front just want to stay there. But what I've seen that's interesting is the runs you can make on the bottom and how drafting is really coming into play. We're seeing some great moves. Just a couple of notes. Anytime you have a green flag pit stop in restrictor plate racing, it's very important to communicate getting onto pit road. One guy makes the wrong move, you can have a pileup. That's something to be concerned about. Did you see Brad Keselowski dropping low there along with some of the other guys? They're coming to pit road, guys.
Logano, Harvick, Keselowski, 4 cars further back, all coming to pit road as we complete 39 laps. Chris Neville.
And crew chief Rodney Childers reminding Kevin Harvick, don't slide the tires. We're only doing fuel on this stop. Harvick saying the car a little too free. Matt?
And Joey Logano was saying a few laps ago that he could really feel the grip go away in the tires. Left side wedge adjustment on that 22. Todd Gordon, he wants 4 tires to give him the most grip for the run to the finish.
Stenhouse, Bain, Biffle, and Boyer also pitting at lap 39 with 21 to go.
I think with the amount of fuel you had to take right there, 4 tires was the right call. You got to put fuel in it. That was the right call.
Casey Kane still out on the racetrack along with David Reagan. Everyone else has come to the pit lane. Chris.
Ooh, Paul Menard coming in hot. His crew chief Justin Alexander reminding him, don't slide the tires, just fuel. Jamie.
And the plan for Denny Hamlin all along was fuel only, a wedge adjustment as well, Matt.
And Junior Stutters leaving his box. Chassis adjustments across the back. Greg Ives reminded him, do not slide your tires. We wanted to go fuel only.
A lot of work at the back of Austin Dillon's car, but I don't know if we saw any tire changes.
I don't think we did, except on the 22 car. He took 4 tires, and I like that call.
Look at this. Here's that battle side by side, 98 and 59, as they leave the pits and try to get back up to speed. Harvick rockets around them, and the final 2 cars come to the pit lane. Casey Kane's number 5 and David Reagan's 23. Chris?
And Casey Kane was confident about what his car was going to be like in the draft in this race. However, once he got out there, he said when he has cars behind him too close, that car getting away from him way too loose. So we saw a chassis adjustment there.
So after pit stops, Michael McDowell is in the transfer spot. Cole Witt from Alpine, California in the 98 right behind him, running 9th and 10th to try to break into the Daytona 500.
Now, I'd be a little concerned right now about Michael McDowell, because now I have Cole Witt behind me with 2 cars drafting with him. The amount of speed they're going to be able to gain on him. And you know Cole Witt's he's not content falling in behind Michael McDowell. It's a pretty good chance that when they get there, you can already see they're 3 miles per hour faster. There's a good chance they're going to go right on by Michael McDowell.
Cole Witt driving for Mike Hillman, longtime car owner in this series. Working around David Reagan, whose car is still coming up to speed from his pit stop 1 lap later than those other drivers. Denny Hamlin is the new leader.
Mike, I don't think there's any question you can run the 150 miles on 1 set of tires. I don't think that's a problem. But I do think that maneuverability, if we should get a caution here, the 22 is set. I don't think he'd have to come back to pit road. Some of these other guys may want to come back and get tires.
Ryan Blaney back on pit road, and That means he will almost certainly have to fall back on his qualify. Oh, it is Cole Witt. He is around.
Hold on to it.
Reagan misses him. Caution waves.
Get ready. 4 tires. Get ready. You all right? Load up with gas.
Wow.
Let's have a look and see what happened to Cole Witt down in turns 1 and 2. The 98 black car, second in line.
We talked about how important this was. This was the move that could get you into the Daytona 500. Michael McDowell put a big spin on him, and then the 7 car behind Regan Smith had nowhere to go and got into the back of the 98 and turned him. That right there shows you that closing rate and how important that pass was.
As this unfolded, David Reagan may have gotten just a piece of him going by down on the apron. Reagan right there.
And we saw Brian Scott got a little bit of damage or contact that sent him spinning also.
Roof flaps did their job. He saw that thing get up on 2 wheels there a little bit, and that right roof flap pushed it right back down on the ground.
I don't think Regan actually got into him. I think he just got into a very vulnerable position, turned in. Right there in that transition, the cars get very light, and just a little bit of that air coming from Regan Smith's car just turned the 98 right around.
Jeff, it looked like he kind of threw it in the corner like he was going to make a move, and it just got out from under him.
And, you know, this is going to play out later in this race. They didn't take tires. That was gas only. There's no doubt new tires will give you a little bit of extra grip, and in that kind of maneuver, 4 tires may have been the difference of keeping that car going straight or not.
Cole Witt is 24. He's got a couple of years in the Cup Series, but it's a tall order to put on the shoulders of a man. You have to race into the Daytona 500. That is your only shot.
But he is a feisty little driver, I'll tell you.
Cole Witt goes for a spin, trying to make the move on Michael McDowell. We're under caution. We'd like one of you fans to feel like a winner and win the same amount of money as the driver who wins the Daytona 500, $1.5 million. All you have to do, pick the top 10 finishers of the 500 in order. Visit foxsports.com/Daytona Pick 10 before Sunday race day to enter. We'll make our picks. We'll disclose them Saturday afternoon. That may help you. It may not. We're not eligible to win, but one of you could win $1.5 million. Foxsports.com/Daytona Pick 10. Here's your running order at 45 laps. 15 to go. We're under the first caution of the night for Cole Witt's spin. And we listened in on rookie and pole sitter for the 500, Chase Elliott and his team.
You know, Jimmy's just giving us some insights to hunt that middle, fight for that middle. You can make some stuff happen there, like when Kevin was behind you, just trying to gouge forward. But you're doing good, man.
Taking him 3 deep there if I can get in safely.
Especially with Kevin behind you, he knew Kevin wanted the middle, so if you can kind of gouge to get that middle and take him pretty wide, that's good.
Absolutely right. It's risky in the duel.
I would tell you to do that. I don't know if I'd tell Chase to do that or not.
Well, just if you're sitting on the front row with this 24 car, you want to put yourself in positions like that, and you want to move forward. And I love that he's talking about using some information from his teammate Jimmy Johnson, and also looking at what Kevin Harvick was doing, but gouging up through the center.
That's why when I heard that word, I said, no, you don't want to gouge anything.
No, he has to keep that car in one piece if he wants to start on the pole Sunday.
But
Chris Myers?
And watching with Michael Waltrip, who's going to jump in the car in just a moment, get out of his TV suit. He's got the fire suit below, and race a little in Duel 2, running in your 29th Daytona 500. What are you seeing here as you get ready to go there?
I like the tire call for Joey Logano, because that's why Cole Witt spun out. You got to know how hard these guys are trying. That was his chance to make the move around the transfer spot. He got down into turn 1 where the cars are loose anyway. It got away from him. Tires could help Logano tremendously here at the end. I can't wait to go race, Chris. I'm excited.
All right, good luck out there. And when he goes there, Denny Hamlin is going to join us in between. And for the second duel, we'll be watching with everyone else. Let's get back to Jeff, Darrell, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. The first 7 cars in line have not been to pit road for tires. However, from Greg Biffle on back, most of those other cars have. What's Paul Menard up to?
Kind of a high frequency vibration. Feel it, and it's kind of making my right foot go numb. Being wide open, it's kind of like a buzzing through my right leg. So, not sure what that's about.
Yeah, we talked about this in practice. We saw Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus talking about holding the shifter and checking for vibrations. If you get those harmonic vibrations in the driveline, it's hard to find, number one, but also it just sends this chill through your whole body, and it will make hands, feet go to sleep when you're in the car, especially when you're holding it wide open like you are all the way around the lap.
13 to go when they come to the line, and here's what's at stake. The drivers, the way they finish this duel, will line up in that order on the inside lane for Sunday's Daytona 500. And of the cars trying to race their way in, Josh Wise in 13th. In number 30 has that position. Michael McDowell on the outside looking in from 15th, as is Cole Witt from 22nd. Here are the restart lines at the bottom of the screen. There they are. The driver must go between here and here as he leads the field to green. Otherwise, the flagman will restart the race.
Might be trouble for these boys at that 11 out front, because we know he's got a fast hot rod.
He was impossible to pass here Saturday night in the Sprint Unlimited.
Junior had just a little bit of trouble on his pit stop there coming out of the pits. He kind of stumbled a little bit and he lost a couple of spots. See if he can get them back.
A little bit of trouble on that restart too. It's not, like the front row to get that big of a gap. I know Denny Hamlin got a great start, but it seemed like Junior just didn't get the start he was really hoping for.
Austin Dillon in the 3, trying to give Chase Elliott a little bit of a push.
He's saying, yeah, I was a rookie at one time. Let me see what you have here.
Yeah, and he was a rookie pole sitter for the 500, as was Danica Patrick, 3 in the last 4 years.
Well, you just see that 88 car on that outside line. It's not going anywhere right now, and Junior's continue to fall back a little bit here. He's back to about 6th place.
So, Jamie, why did Denny Hamlin choose not to take tires?
Well, I talked to the team, and it was all about cutting time. They only put 2/3 of a can of fuel in, just enough to get a little past 21 laps. That was a 5.5-second pit stop. Yeah, it didn't get new tires, but it also saved him 3 spots, and that was the lead.
I tell you, old Wheels, he's doing a whale of a job down there in the pits calling these races. We saw him do that last Saturday night to win Denny this race on fuel mileage. Looks like they got a pretty good strategy again tonight. Can't argue with the call.
Wheels is Mike Wheeler. That is Denny Hamlin's new crew chief.
And I'm really interested to see how Denny Hamlin does leading this race. We saw Dale Jr. out front controlling this race. Now he's behind. He's going to be hungry to get up there. And what about Denny Hamlin? Can he hold off this field like Jr. was doing earlier in this race?
Yeah, look at that 88 car. He just drove right by Austin Dillon, dove right by him, back up in front of him, and he's chasing down that front pack, those front 2 there.
Cole Witt has retired his car to the garage. So the battle for the bubble is Blaney, McDowell, and Wise.
And you saw it right there. Big push from the 3 to the 88. 88 up to the 4. The 4 had a lot of momentum going into the corner and almost made the move.
Let's take a look back at the restart, where Kevin Harvick appeared to give Denny Hamlin a pretty good shove here.
Ready. Green, green, green.
Little bump.
88 stammered a little bit, 24 coming. 88 still at the door, coming back, 24 pushing hard. 88 still there.
That was more than a little bump. That was a big bump.
I saw the deck lid bow up. I don't know if that's pretty hard, I guess.
And it worked really well.
I hadn't seen it yet before I said it, so we err on the side of cautions if we can.
I think these first 3 guys are the 11, the 4, and the 88. That car, Dale Jr., he wants to pass these guys, get back to the lead. I can tell you, he's hungry to get back out front. I just think that 11 car is going to be hard to get by from what I've seen out of that thing over the last few days.
9 laps to go. Let's go back down to Paul Menard's pit. Chris?
Paul Menard just reported to his team he thinks he has a tire rub, possibly that left rear. So the team trying to take a look at that right now and figure out if they're going to have to bring him to pit lane.
Boy, it sure doesn't look like it, Chris. I mean, I don't see any rubber on the quarter panel. I don't see any smoke. Looks like the letters are all on the tire. Pretty hard to tell from here, but it looks pretty clean.
And that's risky. Where he's track position is everything here. Where he is right now, he would start in row 8 of the Daytona 500. Hate to give that up.
Yeah, we don't want to blow. If that tire is rubbing, you sure don't want to stay out there long, because it'll blow out.
And usually if the left rear is smoking, the rear tires in general, you'll get a little bit of smoke and smell that rubber burning inside the car. So I'm pretty sure he has a reason to be concerned.
Here goes Logano down on the inside. Now, if he's the Lone Ranger down there, he could fall all the way back to 19th.
He's going to be the Lone Ranger.
Yeah,
Tano, you go to town.
I'd like to help you, but.
Right. He's going to get some help. Here comes Ryan Blaney, who is not an official teammate of Logano, but he's affiliated with the Penske teams as he drives the 21 for the Wood brothers.
Oh, Mike, that's a full-blown Penske car, engine, the whole 9 yards. So they are like teammates.
Now it's on. Dale Jr.'s in second place, and now we're really going to not only find out what kind of speed he has, but the maneuvering and the tactics that he uses to get that energy from the car or cars behind him. You watch, he'll let that 11 car get a gap out there, and he'll try to stack himself up to those cars behind and get a big run.
Did you hear what he did going into one? He lifted just a little wee bit to let that 11 get that gap so he can chase him down.
Look at him backing up to this 4 car, but the 4 car's not going for it. The 4 car knew what he was about to do.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Kevin Harvick is not going to clear Dale Jr., and this is going to cost him.
No, he's going to get some help from Menard, but it's going to be little and late.
So if you're in second place, the reason it's so difficult to get that lead, you have to get you have to get so much momentum that they can't block you, that you can get out in their blind spot as Dale Jr. makes a move to the high side, trying to get into that blind spot of Denny Hamlin.
This is a cat and mouse game right here. Okay, he's going high, block him out. He's going to go low. You have to anticipate, if you're Denny Hamlin, which way is 88 Jr. going to go.
My cat never ran 190 miles an hour. Matt.
Junior working on his timing and counting it down. He told his spotter, TJ Majors, give me the laps to go every time by.
Yeah, that's what he does. And right here, he's looking on the inside. He's going to make the pass right here. He's on his way.
That was a textbook move. He moved down to the 4 and felt the momentum coming from the 4, moved down in front of him, got just what he needed, got right to the quarter panel of Denny Hamlin, and goes to the lead. Wow.
And now Denny Hamlin's saying, how did he do that? I thought I had him covered.
Well, it's not over yet. I think Denny has something to say here.
I don't know about that one.
But that was such a classic Earnhardt move, senior or junior.
Oh, yeah.
Working the air and finding out how to use it to your advantage has always been a hallmark of the Pied Piper in the 88 and his dad, the Intimidator.
Comes that 22 car of Logano down the inside trying to get up to the back of Kevin Harvick. And the 4, I still think that the 22 car, it's going to run out of laps, but still think he's going to have a little something to say about it.
Now Josh Wise trying to race his way into the 500. His only chance to make the race is to beat the 59 of McDowell and the 21 of Blaney. Whoa, hang on
to her, son.
I don't know what it is about turn 4 over there, but when you turn down off that banking and put the wheel to it, the back end just wants to step out.
That's how much on the edge you are.
Now
all
there are the
time.
open cars, those without a charter who are trying to race in. Blaney is locked in on time. If he races in by holding this spot, that would advance Michael McDowell into the 500 on time. We'll sort it all out for you about 3 laps from now.
You talking about debris? Did you see what they just went by down there? Big old plastic bags.
3 wide.
Now this is just all about decision making right there. You saw Denny Hamlin. He chose that outside lane hoping the energy was going to come from the outside lane, but then Kevin Harvick actually got to the inside of him. Now it's not over yet. I think that outside lane still can form, but right now a little bit more energy and air moving to move those cars up with momentum on the inside.
Here comes Harvick from last on the starting grid. coming for second against Hamlin on the outside.
I think he was right about his car, Mike. He said it's the best restrictor plate car he'd had in a long time, and it's really showing it right here in this race.
And this is one of the things that we've seen why it's so important and so great to be leading, because it's so hard for those guys to get organized and get a big enough run on the leader. But we see Joey Logano giving a big push to the 4 to maybe get up there and do something.
No, he's going to do something. He's going to go around him.
Lap and a half to go.
Those 4 tires are really paying off now, boys. Here comes Blaney.
Chase Elliott up behind the 4. Give him a little bit of help. But the Fords have lined up 22 Logano, 21 Blaney in front of Hamlin's Toyota, chasing Earnhardt Chevrolet, and they'll come to the white flag this time.
It's going to get a little dicey here on this last lap because everybody's going to really start to really take the chances that they've been waiting for the last lap.
He's going to be on top. 21's free on the high side. 21's free on the high side behind it. He's getting a shot for the 21 now. Here he comes.
If that 21 can work with Joey Logano, I think they might have a shot at getting to the inside of Dale Jr. Right here is where you're going to have to back up to the car. Let Jr. get out there. Don't worry about what's happening down the back straightaway. Worry about what's going to happen when you get to turn 3 or maybe even coming off of turn 4.
Jr. just gets off of a corner so well. It gets off of 2 great. It really gets off turn 4. He's been able to gap everybody on corner exit.
Just not quite enough right there.
Can't quite get to him.
He's not doing it. They're still one apart. They're still one apart.
One car
They're not
length.
pushing.
That's the difference. Chevy versus Ford. Spinning goes Brian Scott to the infield, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. will win his dual race for the 2nd year in a row. Tough break for the rookie from Idaho, who was fastest in one of the practices yesterday.
Yeah, good job. Great car.
Ryan Blaney finishes 3rd. He is in the Daytona 500 and will start from the 4th row. That will open up 1 spot on the speed chart from Sunday's qualifying, and it will go to Glendale, Arizona's Michael McDowell in the 59.
Good for him.
Well, you know, there's a lot of very happy people on that 59 team right now. That's fantastic.
Circle Sport, Levine Family Racing will be in the 500 there. Let's have a look at down on the inside toward the back of that group.
Wow.
Around goes Brian Scott.
Boy, that didn't take much at all. We saw Michael McDowell drop down to the inside, actually trying to help out Brian Scott, and it just brought that car around in a hurry.
I just think, Jeff, it just shows how much on edge these cars are. They get in traffic and the air gets to moving around. You're just so loose.
Now, that car last year was the Richard Petty Motorsports number 9. They are locked into the Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Pied Piper of Daytona, leads them to the line once again. Five dual wins, the most of all active Sprint Cup drivers for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He will start in row 2 of the 500. Joey Logano finishes 2nd. Ryan Blaney, instead of falling back on his speed, now he will start in the 4th row with that 3rd place finish. Kevin Harvick from last to 4th in this race. And Michael McDowell's speed will now be fast enough to get him into the 500. Josh Wise will not qualify, nor will Cole Whitt. Those are the 2 drivers that will go home from this one. Matt Yoakum awaits Jr. in victory lane.
Mike, he gave the checkered flag to owner Rick Hendrick. Well, 5 to go, an impressive pass for the lead. What did you learn most about Amelia that you're excited about the 500?
Well, we knew it was a real good car. This car, actually, a lot of people don't talk about it, but it won the 150 last year too. So it's got 3 wins and a 2nd and 3rd last year. It's a great car. Another win at Daytona for the Earnhardts. Keep adding to the legacy, and we're up there in the 50s now with all the wins we got here. So I'm real glad to be able to do that. It was a fun race. Did a lot of blocking tonight. Nothing too crazy, but glad it didn't have to get that way. But you know, just defending those guys and the moves they were putting together is a real challenge. There's some great cars out there, some really, really good guys out there that are starting to become pretty tough on these plate tracks. Joey's always up there. Denny's real tough. See the same guys up there all the time in the last several years, and they're hard to hold off, and it's getting harder and harder.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. scores his 5th dual win.
Thanks to Nationwide. I want to thank those guys. They do a lot for us. Thank you.
Jamie?
And Ryan Blaney officially in. Now your second 500, but the first for the Wood brothers. You and your teammate, you guys look like you had a chance there at the end. What were you talking about afterwards?
Just trying to time runs. You know, that's a big thing, is trying to get a good push behind you to help the guy in front of you to hopefully get by that leader. But I just followed Joey up there. Maybe the last 5 laps we got a couple good holes, and I had Chase behind me. He stuck with me too. That was a big part of it, having someone help behind you. So good recovery. We had a couple issues early in the race and went a lap down, and luckily got a caution and got back on the lead lap. But it's nice to have a good run. We had a fast car, and our Motorcraft quick lane Ford Fusion is pretty good. So I'm excited for Sunday.
Nice work and congratulations. Let's go over to Chris.
Well, Jamie, Michael McDowell races his way into the Daytona 500. And Michael, what a pressure-packed week for you. What were those last couple laps like?
Oh, it's so intense. You know, when Blaney had a problem there, and we were counting on him racing his way in, and then, at the end we just dug hard, and the 21 got going, came to the white flag, and I was like, I'm right in the middle of it, but you got to protect it at the same time. I'm just so excited for everybody at Circle Sport Levine Family Racing to get this thriving financial Chevrolet, K-Love, everybody that's been a part of our program for so long. I can't tell you what it means to make the Daytona 500. We're racing Sunday, and I just can't wait to get going.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Third time in the last 7 years he's raced into the 500. Hall of Famer, our sports Edison, Leonard Wood gets congratulations. His older brother Glenn owns the team and is here for his 70th consecutive Daytona Speed Weeks. Amelia, that car named for famed aviatrix Amelia Earhart, is a winner.
Chris Myers back with you in Daytona. The 5th dual win in the career of Dale Earnhardt Jr. ties him 3rd all-time with Jeff Gordon, Darrell Waltrip, and Bobby Allison on the dual list. A quick recap. 1 dual down and 1 to go with 1 spot for Sunday's 40-car field. There's Chase Elliott, the 20-year-old, on the pole and in the front row tonight in Duel 1 with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as teammate. Led a couple of laps, but there goes Jr. The in-car camera view passing the 24. Meanwhile, Austin Dillon in the 3, some issues with some item on the back that he was never red flagged for. Didn't cause any problem. Eventually flew off on its own. Meanwhile, Cole Witt, Michael McDowell, open drivers battling for a spot in the race. A little bit of blocking effort there within the rules by McDowell. The tires hurt Witt. He spins out of the 500. Hamlin fast out of the pits, and Denny actually led 13 laps, but here's the move with 6 to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his Nationwide Chevrolet pulling into victory lane, and already the favorite for the Daytona 500 Sunday, adding fuel to that fire. Let's check in right now with Chase Elliott. He's standing by with Chris Neville.
Well, Chase Elliott comes home 6th tonight, but Chase, you will be starting up in pole position come Sunday. What did you learn in this race?
Just a lot of things of, I guess, what not to do and some opportunities I feel like we missed. Just trying to recognize the lanes before they form up, and whichever lane has more cars in it, more, really powerful cars, that one's going to go forward. And the really good guys are good at recognizing that before it happens, and I just let some opportunities slip away there.
Well, for the second race here in Speed Weeks, Joey Logano comes out second. It looks like you had a shot on Junior, but he's so good. How do you beat this guy in his favorite car here on Sunday?
I don't know. I can't beat him right now. I got to figure something out. But he's just so good. He's a great speedway racer. He's got a great car behind him, and congrats to him. I feel like we're close. We had a really fun run through the end, and ducking down to the bottom and trying to pull that bottom lane up, and it worked out well. Just got to get a little bit more to pass him. I had a good run. Blaney did awesome behind me, gave me a good push at the end, and almost had enough to get to the outside of Dale, and the run just kind of died out, and that was kind of the end of that. So it's really hard to pass for the lead when you're second, third place, or you're second row trying to pass for the lead. It's really challenging to have a big enough run to get to the outside, and that's why you see the leaders stay out there for so many laps. So just got to figure out how to get there, and I feel like our car is plenty fast enough to stay up there.
All right, well, Joey Logano's heading up to the spotter stand to watch the next race, see if he can learn a thing or two.
Thanks, Jamie. We'll be watching, there he is, Michael Waltrip with Matt Kenseth. Kenseth starting on the front row in Duel 2 with Kyle Busch, Robert Richardson Jr., David Gilliland, and Reed Sorensen. One of them will realize the dream of getting in the Daytona 500. coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything they learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what rolls into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. And as we look ahead towards the second duel of the night, Matt Kenseth and Kyle Busch starting on the front row. Kurt Busch, you see Ryan Newman, former Daytona 500 winner. Eric Almirola, Jamie McMurray, Michael Waltrip in the backup car, Danica Patrick in row 7. And rounding out the field, they have to race their way in. Richardson, Gilliland, Sorensen, and there's Martin Truex Jr. Never really got to run in the qualifying on Sunday. He's standing by with our Matt Yoakum.
Well, in Duel 1, Kevin Harvick started shotgun on the field, nearly pulled off the win, finishing 4th. Martin Truex, that's where you're going to be starting, so he gives you definitely hope, but you've got a great race car.
I think we do. We haven't done a lot of drafting this week, but just trying to keep the thing safe. So, tonight will be a good little test to get ready for the 500, and of course it's a little bit cooler and all, but I think we'll learn quite a bit tonight we can use. So hopefully we'll be able to find some holes early, get up towards the front, and get a little racy and see what we got.
Thank you, Martin.
Danica Patrick starting 14th in the second duel tonight. And Danica, did you have a chance to watch that first race, and did you learn anything?
Yeah, I watched it. I did. It wasn't super crazy, but you could definitely see that if you want to make headway, you're going to have to use the car in front of you up a little bit and work the draft really well. So, yeah, but it all was pretty calm. And unfortunately, Billy and I were talking in the driver's meeting about how the duels normally go, and that normally they're different, as in one's crazy and one's not. So if the first one's crazy, the second one's calm, and vice versa. So I really hope that means that ours is not crazy, but we're ready for anything. We want to have as good a starting place for the 500 as we can. And, it's all a great learning experience. I mean, with the charter system we're in, but you still want to learn as much as you can in this duel.
Well, unlike his teammate Denny Hamlin, who didn't have any teammates in his race, Carl does have teammates here. I'm sure you sat back there and you watched how things unfolded and what Denny did and didn't do. What did you learn?
It looked like Denny did a really good job, but man, the 88 car was fast and he made a lot of the right moves. You saw everybody line up, and I got to say, you guys in the booth did a really good job describing everything. I learned a lot listening to Jeff up there, so it's pretty cool to watch. I just hope we can work together. Our Toyotas have been really fast, and our Aris Toyota's been good, so just go out and have a good time, try not to wreck. I've been drinking Michael's Maxwell House. He's given me, I had a cup of coffee before this started, so if I can just keep everything in line here, we'll be all right.
All right, Carl Edwards starting from the front row, or second row.
All right, coming up, Denny Hamlin, who led 13 laps, and Carl Edwards just referring to him before Dale Earnhardt Jr. was able to win Duel 1. Denny will join us here in the Hollywood Hotel to get you ready for Duel 2. Nice to have you watching live from Daytona here on FS1. Rick Hendrick there with Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had to put a move on the end to overtake Denny Hamlin in the 11 FedEx Joe Gibbs Toyotas. We welcome you inside the Hollywood Hotel trackside with Denny Hamlin. Boy, that was tough. You got out there, you led 13 laps. I know the goal was always to win. What else were you hoping to accomplish tonight?
Just win. Well, I mean, that's what we come here for, but really we haven't drafted that much with this car, so to kind of see how it stacked up versus the Unlimited car. And we got a little bit of work to do, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes things difficult, obviously, when all of our Toyota teammates are in the next duel, but still, I noticed in the same positions that we could get a little bit more speed out of our car.
Yeah, you were the lone wolf in that. Jeff Gordon said in the broadcast, you're the kind of guy, you don't like sitting in line. You're not going to be patient. I mean, so this is something that whether you have teammates or not, you were going for it.
Well, it's a duel, and I mean, who wants to sit up by the fence and ride that for 50 laps? So, yeah, I mean, I'm willing to take my chances always. make a line, start to form a line on the bottom to try to get the racing action going, and we were able to get it going there at the end.
We heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, hey, there's a lot of blocking going on out there, and we saw obviously Michael McDowell had to do that to race his way in. Is this kind of what we're going to see in the Daytona 500? You start 11th, by the way, in the Great American Race on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it is a leader-driven race. We've seen that in the past, and really, even tonight and last weekend, it is a leader-driven race. The 88 got such a big run on me. You have to anticipate it. The difference was last week I was able to anticipate what line that the 27 was going to go in. This time, I was the goalie. I faked. I went right. He went left.
And here we go.
I did such a bad job there.
Really? What could you have done better? He put out a pretty good, that was a patented Earnhardt move there.
I know, but he didn't get the monster run that I thought he got. I just flat out left the door open, so he walked right through it.
Well, and you left the door open to a guy who's pretty good at this track. Yep. I mean, as you are. Does that matter? Who's there when you're in these situations? Whether I know this is different than the Daytona 500, but that is your ultimate goal.
Absolutely. I mean, me and the 88 have had so many duels at the end of these races, finishing 1-2 in one order or another. And trust me, when I was leading, he's not the guy that I wanted to see second, because usually when he backs up to the third place guy, that person is always committed to pushing him instead of passing him. So I knew I was in trouble, but I was hoping we'd hold it all.
And the talk has been about the Joe Gibbs Toyotas and the Hendrick Chevrolets here all through Speed Week. So now Jimmy Johnson is going to be the lone wolf in race 2 for Hendrick Motorsports. What do you expect out of him?
Well, I think he's fast. I think his car's fast. I think we saw that in practice earlier today. He was, about 3 miles an hour faster than everyone else, single car. Whether that translates into drafting speed or not, it remains to be seen. And yeah, he's going to have a tough task ahead of him racing those Gibbs team cars.
Yeah, before we let you go, Denny, just an overview of what we've seen tonight that you think we'll see on Sunday. What kind of race we should look for? You already talked about getting out front, staying out front.
Yeah, it's going to be super important to stay out front, no doubt about it. I think whoever's leading with 5 to go's probably got a good chance to win this thing. But I actually thought the race was a little bit dicier than the 150s have been in the past. So I expect the same thing tonight.
All right, well, good luck. Thanks for coming by. Denny Hamlin in the FedEx Toyota will be watching. He'll get back to some work. And Denny, what kind of shot does this guy have? Looks like a statue. Do you think he's nervous?
That's a lot of hair coloring right there.
All right. We'll see how Michael Waltrip could do in the second duel. There's a reason to hang around, right? Nice hair, right? Oh.
Green flag, all rolling good. All rolling. Big green. It's all good, man. It's all good. 4 is outside, last car up top. Should have pushed hard if you want to there. Stay up very top here. All rolling good. 2 back, Brad. He's got a group that's catching him over. Your lane's moving good. 3 has room. 3 has half a car room. It's all good in front of you, man. Pick up down. Watch him coming across here. One more here, 144.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will win his dual race for the 2nd year in a row.
And the last winner of the dual race who went on to win the Daytona 500 in the same year, that was in 2012, and that was Matt Kenseth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with a chance to do that. Sprint Cup champ Kyle Busch ready for Duel 2 here on FS1, a 2-time winner in this race. And standing by with our Matt Yoakum.
Kyle Busch will roll off from the front row starting second. So having fun with his teammate Carlos. What are you focusing on most in your duel? What do you want to learn that you can put used to on Sunday?
I guess essentially to see how good our M&M's race car is. We feel like our Camrys are fast and have good speed. Showed that in single car qualifying, but now we want to make sure that we've got some of that for us for the rest of the guys, for the rest of the field in the Daytona 500 on Sunday. So right now is our first chance to be able to learn that and see what we got. And of course, too, make sure our handling's good, those things, but try to win. If we can win this thing, that puts us right back to where we start. After qualifying for the Daytona 500, and that would be the best spot for us.
2 dual wins, chasing a third.
Well, Ty Dillon had an issue in practice yesterday, and that set you guys back a little bit. How did that affect you, knowing you didn't get all that drafting practice you wanted?
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for our Cheerios, Kroger, Chevy. We were planning on doing some drafting right there and kind of fill our car out, see what it does in draft, and had a little bit of an unfortunate circumstance, and but we got out there today and made sure the car was still running good. We had no issues. So this will be our first run in the draft, and I don't really have much experience. I ran here last year, the Daytona 500. I have ran a lot of races here in other cars, though, but looking forward to getting that experience and learn as much as possible and hopefully get in the front of this thing.
All right, Ty Dillon rolling off 8th in duel number 2.
Thanks, JB. The Hendrick Chevrolet swept both dual races last season. They can do that here if Jimmy Johnson gets to victory lane. There is crew chief Chad Knaus chatting with Rick Hendrick, and who will race their way in. One spot left for the Daytona 500. The winner here tonight, the early favorite for the Daytona 500, only cementing that confidence in the 88 Nationwide Chevrolet, Dale Earnhardt Jr. That was Duel 1. What's going to happen in Duel 2? Let's go back upstairs to Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Gordon, and Mike Joy. Guys?
Thanks, Chris. Getting ready for race number 2 to set the outside lane for Sunday's Daytona 500. Now, we're talking during break, in the 40 or so years Darrell and I have been coming down here, there is one truism about Thursday in Daytona. If the first Can Am Duel race is calm, the second one is wide open, or vice versa. What do you expect in race 2?
Yeah, I think we saw some great action. We saw some great racing side-by-side, battles for the lead. But what we didn't see was the really wild action and the crashes and spins that we've seen. So I think you're going to see a lot more action. Now that that first race was calm, this one's going to get a little wilder, and you know those drivers are thinking about that too.
So drivers may take more chances, but track position, Darrell, is so important. If you have a 7-car draft and you're 6th and you jump out of line, you're only going back to 7th. When you have a 20-car draft and you jump out of line, well, we saw it in the race number 1.
Yeah, I think relationships, I think that's something that you kind of build as you go along in these 150s. You find out who you can trust, who will work with you. You can depend on a guy to be there for you. And the other key word in that race, I think, was anticipation. You heard Dale Jr. say that there was a lot of blocking going on. And you heard Denny Hamlin say, I knew I should have gone to the right, but he went to the left. I left the door wide open. So they were experiencing it. The other guys down there were watching it.
We thought that race looked pretty tame. Denny said it was pretty wild. What's the difference?
Well, what I really liked is Denny calling himself out.
Yeah.
He saw that after watching on video how Junior got that momentum and got the pass and got to his inside. But yeah, I think that he thought it was pretty dicey. And I think if you look at some of the action that happened in the middle or the beginning of the race, a little bit in the middle, a little bit there at the end, it was kind of dicey. But I don't think it was anything quite like what we're getting ready to see. I think that they might not be as dicey as passing, but I think that they're going to see that the grip really goes away on these tires after they get a lot of laps on them.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in victory lane, doing the hat dance. Sponsor 1, sponsor 2. We're number 1. Give me another hat. And then Rick and Linda Hendrick and the whole team put all their caps on backwards and pointed skyward in a tribute to their late son, Ricky Hendrick. Touching and a great moment. There's Jimmy Johnson at the ready, Kyle Busch, Samantha. Kurt Busch and some well-wishers, including car owner Gene Haas. Everybody getting ready to set the outside lane for the Daytona 500. And we go trackside for the command.
Here to deliver the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, Acting Vice President of Parts, Accessories, and Clothing Division for BRP Incorporated, John Fleury.
Drivers, start your engine.
"22 drivers, 150 miles, 20 starting spots at stake in the Daytona 500 next."
Crash. Oh, spin into the wall. Holy smoly. I love this race too.
That was not a video game. That was real life.
Can Am Duel at Daytona on FS1, race number 2. Following the safety car out onto the racetrack, single file, they'll form up and get ready to roll here. Nice crowd on hand for a Thursday as Daytona's big speed weekend begins. The first point race will be tomorrow. That'll be the Camping World Truck Series live on FS1, then the Xfinity Series on Saturday, Daytona 500 on Sunday. And that's just the start of the Sprint Cup season. We move on to Atlanta next weekend, then Phoenix and beyond with the West Coast swing. So let's have a look at the starting lineup for race number 2. 4 dual wins on the front row between Toyota teammates Matt Kenseth and Kyle Busch.
We got 6-time champion Jimmie Johnson. He's a 2-time dual winner. Won this thing last year along with Carl Edwards, one of the 3 JGR cars that are starting up front.
In row 3, we've got Kurt Busch starting 5th, and in 6, Casey Mears, who's finished in the top 10 in the last 2 Daytona 500s.
In row 4, it was Ty Dillon's oil leak that caused the damage to Ryan Newman's car in practice yesterday, but everything all repaired. They're ready to go.
Yeah, we got Eric Almirola there. He's the 2014 July winner down here, along with Jamie McMurray, and Jamie's a Daytona 500 winner as well.
And in row 6, in the 11th position, Kyle Larson going to a backup car. He's going to keep it exciting coming from the back, and next to him, Matt DiBenedetto.
Michael Waltrip also involved in that practice crash. He will go to the rear. Danica Patrick finished a dual best top 10 last year.
A.J. Allmendinger, I think he kind of likes these duels. He's had top 5s in the last 6 of these things. And Michael Annette, who finished 13th last year in the 500.
And in row 9, starting 17th, Landon Castle. And next to him, somebody that could go back on their times, but is going to probably have to race their way in here, Robert Richardson Jr.
Also trying to race in are David Gilliland and Reed Sorensen. Their only opportunity to make the 500 is to be the first of those open cars at the flag.
Yeah, Martin Truex, he didn't get a chance to qualify, had a roof flap issue, and then Brian Vickers, who failed the tech as well because of the track bar issue. So they're starting at the rear of the field.
Well, in race 1, we talked to the last place starter. Jeff, let's go to the front.
Matt Kenseth, this is Jeff Gordon up in the Fox Sports booth. You got me?
Hey, Jeff, I got you loud and clear. I never thought you'd be talking to me in a race car.
Yeah, this is a first for me too. Hey, you know how to get it done here at Daytona. You've won one of these duels before. You've won the Daytona 500 twice. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking about after you saw what happened in Duel 1. What's your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'm thinking about is I'm glad the 88 was in that duel. He looks like he's really stout. I've never been in the front row of the 500 before. We certainly want to start this car there, but we also need to get it some race conditions and see what we have for Sunday. So we're just planning on dropping the hammer here in a minute, and hopefully we can get our Dollar General Camry somewhere out front and keep it there.
Well, unlike your teammate in that first one, Denny Hamlin, where it was a lot of those Hendrick cars against him, you've got 2 of your teammates there to work on Jimmie Johnson. So good luck.
Appreciate it.
Matt Kenseth has won his dual race in 2 of the last 4 years. Let's get down to pit road. First to Chris Neville.
Well, Mike, reigning Sprint Cup champion Kyle Busch said he is going to race hard tonight. His crew chief, Adam Stevens, wants him to aggressively defend track position. Joe Gibbs Racing didn't win a restrictor plate race in 2015, and that's a top goal in 2016. And Adam Stevens says it's going to be pit box selection and a starting position for the Daytona 500 that is the first steps towards changing that goal. Matt?
Chris, tonight's a great opportunity for Jimmie Johnson. Earlier today, he and his team worked on drivability and speed. This will be a great test to see if they have indeed hit upon the right path. Now, the other area they're working on, he wants to be aggressive yet smart, because they're looking at the big picture for Sunday. A great run tonight means a great pit stall selection for the 500. Jimmy Little?
Well, Martin Truex Jr. and that 78 team are trying to put the drama of the roof flap behind him. I just talked to Martin and asked him what his plan is right now, starting next to last. And he said, I need to make my moves quickly. The longer you wait, the harder it is. But he said at the same time, we only participated in 1 practice session out of 3. We're not sure how this car is going to draft. But if he does get up there, Mike, he has a bunch of Toyota teammates waiting to help him out.
He sure does. 3 of the Gibbs cars there. Thanks, Jamie. Let's bring in Larry McReynolds. Larry, did you see anything in race 1 that might alter your strategy for race 2?
Well, I know my 2 drivers over there, they learned a lot, but from the crew chief standpoint, I know Joey Logano, he was the only driver that went with 4 tires and almost pulled it off, finished second, but I just believe spend the least amount of time on pit road as you can. I think that will win this race. Now, let's take a look at the race analysis, just like duel number 1. 60 laps, 150 miles, pit road speed, 55 miles per hour. There's the fuel window. 40 to 46 laps. To the rear, you see Brian Vickers, Kyle Larson, and Michael Waltrip. But I'm like Jamie Little. I think Martin Truex Jr. coming from the rear, he's going to be one to watch.
Thanks, Larry. About Brian Vickers, he is in for Tony Stewart, who was injured in an off-road sand rail accident down in the dunes there of Arizona. So Vickers is the substitute while Stewart heals, but Smoke has 2-way radio control with his driver. Here we go.
Hey, driver, have some fun. Do you need me? I'm here. 10-4. Yes, sir, buddy. Thanks for the opportunity. It means the world. Get better for us and do the best I can till you get back. Yeah, just be smart in this thing. You'll be fine. You know what you're doing. 10-4.
Stewart landed hard out in the desert, sustained a burst vertebra, and that was operated on here in Charlotte, so he is recuperating.
But that right there shows you his passion for racing and how much this team means to him. You know, being on the radio, helping to guide Brian Vickers. I mean, what a great veteran driver to be able to fall back on to help get yourself reacquainted with the draft here at Daytona.
Yeah, here's Jeff Gordon talking to Matt Kenseth. Matt said, I never thought I'd hear that on the parade lap there. And then here's Tony Stewart talking to Brian Vickers. And I'm thinking Brian probably, I never thought I'd hear that either. So what a night.
Here in Daytona, the flags are out straight. It's a windy night. Wind still out of the northeast, down to 57 degrees now, under clear skies. Leading the field down the back straightaway, the 2016 Toyota Camry XSE is the safety car tonight. You see the light bar, the Whelen light bar across the top of the roof. Those lights are out. That's the signal to the drivers that we go green next time by. Now, a clarification about Martin Truex, who will start this race near the back. He did not get to post a qualifying lap on Sunday, but was not disqualified when inspectors noticed something awry with the roof flap on his car. Instead, NASCAR is reporting his team was sent back to the inspection station to fix that, send him back through. When that happens, they put them on the 5-minute clock, and they did not present their car back to the line within the 5 minutes. So they are counted as a DNS. It did not start in qualifying and are lined up in front of the cars that did receive post-qualifying penalties. Now we have open teams and chartered teams here as well. 18 chartered teams. These are the teams without a charter that are not guaranteed a spot in the 500. Matt DiBenedetto is the fastest of those, and his biggest fan right now is Robert Richardson. Richardson could race in, as could David Gilliland or Reed Sorensen. But if DiBenedetto falls back on that time trial spot, Richardson would have to finish the first of those 4. Same goes for the other 2 drivers to make the 500. 22 cars will race 50 laps to set the outside lane for Sunday. Pace car is in, green flags in the air. Here we go. Matt Kenseth assumes command.
Yeah, I don't know if that was planned to get all 3 JGR cars in line there, but that was a nice start. Matt doing a great job getting up there and recognizing that those teammates are up there and getting in front of them.
The 20, the 18, and the 19 in the outside lane. 1, 2, 3. Pack forming up on the inside. That's led by the 48 of Jimmy Johnson and the 41 of Kurt Busch.
It was amazing how fast that 48 car was in single car runs in practice this morning. He was about 3 miles an hour faster than the cars that made on track this morning. Be interesting to see if he can work his way to the lead here. It's going to be hard to get by all 3 of those Toyotas, though.
Yeah, it's nice to know that you've got the speed in the car, but when you're out there in the draft, what kind of speed do you have when you're getting that push, when you're sucking up to that draft in front from the car in front of you, and are you going to have that speed? Is it going to correlate over to race conditions?
Yeah, it's 3 against 1 right now. I mean, Jimmy's down there trying to make it on the inside, and those Gibbs Toyotas seem to have worked something out here that they're going to work together.
Toward the back, they were 3 wide. Michael Annette tried it way on the inside, got no help. They're back to double file behind the 3 leaders.
There's no hole.
And if I know Jimmy Johnson well, he recognized after qualifying on Sunday that there were going to be 3 JGR Toyotas in this race that he was going to get teamed up against. He started making friends with a lot of these other drivers out there to see who he could have as his ally.
Well, the answer to that would be none.
All right.
Right now, he is going back.
Now, you heard Earl Barbin saying no hole. That means there's nowhere for Johnson to move up into that outside lane.
And you just, you cannot force your way in. Now, he might be able to slide in right here.
Clear.
Get up in front of Danica, right behind the 43 of Almirillo. That might work out all right.
The spotter doesn't drive the car. He can't, not from that position. But he's your blind spot. Guidance.
Absolutely. I actually saw a space there where he could have gotten into that space, but right now you're in the duel. You need to be a little bit conservative, so that was a nice conservative move, and only 1 car went by before he was actually able to get up in line. He's actually behind Eric Almirola, who's they're buddies. These guys, they go riding bikes together. I guarantee you they've already talked about how they can work together, even though they're not the same manufacturers.
12 cars, single file, and Matt DiBenedetto right now is in the transfer spot.
And it really doesn't matter. You're not looking for a teammate necessarily. You just want somebody that can help you. You don't have to work for me, but will you just try not to work against me?
Absolutely, and you're looking right now to already start making some friends, building some relationships, because you're going to need somebody to help you out in the Daytona 500 and in this race.
And that's been a problem for Kurt Busch. He has fallen all the way back to 14th. First car on the inside in that second pack.
But those relationships start on the track, but with the spotters. The spotters start to talk to the driver. The driver says, go tell the spotter of the 41 car, let's do this. Or they can't talk to each other, but they can talk to their spotter. That spotter can talk to the spotter on top of the roof with him.
Yeah, I find it really interesting right now that we saw what happened in the first race. We heard Denny Hamlin talk about how dicey it was, and it seems like these drivers are more in line of let's get in line and let's check out from the field and let's get down to the end of the race and decide it among ourselves and see what happens on that green flag pit stop.
Well, the reason for that is those 3 JGR cars up there. They pretty much are dictating the flow of this race right now. They want to follow each other. They don't want to race each other. That's making everybody else fall in line behind them.
And that's all it takes sometimes. In the last race, we saw where Dale Earnhardt Jr. was up there, and we saw Brad Keselowski, and we saw Joey Logano. They were being very aggressive, wanting to make moves to get by the leader in Dale Earnhardt Jr. Right now, we've got 3 cars that are very content being nose to tail up front.
It's an 11-car breakaway, that front pack. And interestingly, the only one of those 11 who started on the inside was pole sitter Matt Kenseth. He just brought the entire outside row with him. They are nice and orderly, paying attention, getting good grades, and look at the truants behind them. Now that swarm has formed up. They've gone single file trying to run down the lead pack.
Well, I tell you, a guy that really made a huge gain right on the start there was the 78 of Martin Truex. He started dead last. He's up to 11th at the tail end of this lead draft. Nice run already by the 78 car.
That team's owner, Barney Visser, likes a flat black paint job, but the team convinced him for Daytona and Talladega the car needed to be slick and shiny to get through the wind. That's the only place you'll see it polished up like this.
Yeah, every little detail aerodynamically on these bodies, you're going to try to gain every advantage you can. So I think it's really smart of them to do that.
Yeah, you remember that they were in a Chevrolet last year. They switched to Toyota. The Truex team did over the offseason, and he hadn't had a lot of practice with this car.
Sparks from the bottom of Michael Waltrip's car going off into turn 1. The 83, that is a backup car.
Yeah, typically you'll see that on the corners, not on the straightaway.
Right. The Joe Gibbs Toyotas run 1, 2, 3. Third is Carl Edwards. We listened in.
Down just a little bit on my gauges. I'm just wondering, next time we run a date, I want my dash to be dim or not as bright.
first year with the glass panel or digital dash that NASCAR has mandated for this season. Guess they don't have a driver adjustable brightness control.
Yeah, the driver can't adjust his brightness right now, but they will be able to do that. Of course, we run the Daytona 500 during the day, but the next time they go to a night race, like Carl pointed out, I want the contrast changed just a little bit there.
Yeah, well, that glare would be annoying. Sure. If that thing is real bright and is glaring in your face, it could be a real big distraction to you.
11 cars have broken away by 2.4 seconds from the other half of this field. 8 laps complete of 60.
Sparky.
You don't think that's his hair, do you? Running in 4th place right now, driver the number 13, Casey Mears, had a chance to spend some time on the Geico Super Cycle. Right now, he's running 190 miles an hour around the Super Speedway in Daytona, also home of Bike Week. In March, Supercross, Daytona 200. It is Toyota, 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 Chevy, Chevy, Mears and Ty Dillon.
That little 13 car, I tell you, it's a single car team. Booty Barker, crew chief on that car. They've had a good speed week so far.
When we went to break, it was 2.4 seconds from 11th to 12th place. Now that gap has shrunk to 1 second.
That's good communication. That second group said if we get in line and we stay together, we can catch that group back. And guess what they're going to do when they get to that group? They're going to stay right there. They're going to try that again.
Now Truex, 193 miles an hour, last car in the lead pack. Ryan Newman is pulling that second pack, and he's 1 to 2 miles an hour quicker.
Yeah, that back group there, they were side by side a little bit, trying to jockey for position to see who wanted to try to make a move or make one position up. They finally realized, let's get in line, let's go catch that group. There's such a big hole of air being punched from that first group. Once you get in line, there's a really good chance you're going to run them back down.
There's some good cars right there. You know, you got Kurt Busch and right behind Newman in the 31, and A.J. Allmendinger's in there, Vickers in there. That's some Larson's back there. Some good cars.
The question is, when they catch them, do they want to get in line, or do they want to try to do what we saw Denny Hamlin do, make some moves? Let's get them side by side and see what they got.
I'm going to say, when I catch them, I'm not going to make that mistake of losing them again.
Oh, and Truex drops down and picks up Newman. He knew they were coming, so he dropped down to cover the spot.
That's a great move. That's when you're that last car, you know the push is coming. You know the momentum's there, and you know that if they go to the bottom, if you get down in front of them, you're going to make up some positions.
Now at the tail end is the red 42 Chevrolet of Kyle Larson. That is a backup car after yesterday's practice crash. Chris?
Yeah, Mike, I talked to his crew chief, Chad Johnson, about that already being in a backup car, and would that change his philosophy tonight? And he said, no, we're still planning on racing hard, because the car that we raced in the Sprint Unlimited, that car already went back to Charlotte, was prepped again for the race and sent back down. It arrived here at noon today. So he said, if we need to go to a third car, we've got it.
Ooh, easy, buddy. Kyle Larson right in the middle there. And got the 14 car of Vickers on the outside of him.
David Gilliland was on the inside trying to race his way in. Matt DiBenedetto holds the transfer spot right now. Robert Richardson behind. There's the 93 of DiBenedetto. He'll run the 83 the rest of the season.
But Mike, what you saw happen there is that group caught the second pack, caught up to the first one. But look, they tried. They made a little run because they had momentum. But in the end, they had to get back in line and just follow along.
Allmendinger with the group on the bottom, seeing if the shorter way around proves to be quicker. Not so. They're back single file in the straightaway.
As long as those JGR Toyotas up there maintain that high line, that outside lane, we've seen this happen many times through different portions of the longer races in the 500. You're really challenging somebody to take that bottom lane and form a group, but it takes a lot of organization. You got to have a lot of people come with you. I thought when that group caught them, that they were going to start peeling off and getting in front of that group and start making some headway, but then all of a sudden it dissipated.
They're right back where they were. When they caught them, they made it. They had that momentum. They caught them. Newman did. He thought, man, I got the speed. I'm going to be able to pass these guys. But you can see he had to fall right back in behind Truex in the 78, and there they are. They can't go anywhere.
Larry, with this rules package, if they continue to run this close together, single file, and nobody darts out, is overheating a concern?
Well, as long as you don't get any trash on the grill, which we have seen that all of Speed Weeks. But, you know, NASCAR, they mandate the opening in the front end. Now, you can tape it up and make it smaller, which obviously helps the aerodynamics. But I think as cool as it is outside, as long as you don't get debris on the grill, Mike, you're just fine.
Thanks, Larry. 19 of 60 laps complete this time around. The Joe Gibbs Toyotas holding court in Daytona. And still they come, 16 cars in a row, within 2 seconds of one another after 22 of 60 laps. Matt Kenseth is trying to put the field to sleep here. He's led all 22 laps with teammates Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards right behind him. Casey Mears, the Chevrolet, locked into fourth behind the 3 Toyotas. How about the leader, Matt?
Mike Lauren Ranier, a veteran spotter who's filling in for Chris Osborne, Kenseth's normal spotter, due to a highway car accident. He was telling Matt there is debris on the grill. You can see it start pushing water out at that right front corner. He was working on a game plan with the 18, their teammate of Kyle Busch, to try to maybe drop down and then slide up so that way they can try to get the debris off the grill.
Boy, that wouldn't work too well for Brad Keselowski Saturday night, but here goes Busch. If he can get in front of Kenseth, that air pressure differential may help dislodge the debris.
Do you know how beautiful that was? Do you know how hard that is to do? To pull down and pass your teammate and not lose a spot, blow the trash off your grill and keep on going.
That's the advantage of having a veteran champion driver now in Kyle Busch, and such a veteran in Matt Kenseth, to be able to make that move and make it look so flawless and get the debris right off. That was fantastic.
That's almost impossible to do, and they just pulled it off. Just a thing of beauty. Really impressed with that.
Would you like to see it again?
Oh,
Absolutely.
I'd love to see it again.
Perfect as they go in the corner. Mats are on the high line. You see Kyle Busch just dive to the inside. They don't even lose any momentum. Here comes the 19 of Carl Edwards, just gets right up in behind his teammate. Now the question is, are they going to swap back?
Yeah, but here's what the 19 was the control car. He left a gap between he and the 18 so he can make that move without anybody jumping all over him. So I think Carl Edwards had a big role in making that happen.
Yes, Casey Mears or Ty Dillon had no chance to drop down and capitalize and make it a side-by-side battle.
Exactly.
They're not coupled together, but it sure looks like a freight train racing along at 190. 16 cars strong. Then it's another 7 seconds back to Robert Richardson and David Gilliland and Michael Waltrip, Michael Annett. Brian Vickers has gained 10 spots since the start of this race. The position of the Panhard rod, the track bar in the rear suspension, was outside of NASCAR tolerance after the qualifying laps, so his, along with Kevin Harvick's, laps were disallowed, and Vickers had to start this race from the rear.
Whatever advice Tony was giving him, it's paying off.
Yeah, and what that Panhard rod does, you run it way down on the right side. It kind of drives that corner of the car down, which tries to get the spoiler out of the air a little bit more. So there is an advantage to doing that.
Now, I know that it looks like they're just in a train and they're riding along here at 200 miles per hour. It's anything but that when you're inside the car. After you get this many laps on the tires, the cars start moving around. You have a lot of turbulence in the air. There's not much downforce getting in your car. You get into that position that we just showed Jimmy Johnson in, and it's really easy to get that car out of shape. Yeah, they want to know what the cars are going to handle like, but it's not fun to be in this position. They're getting very frustrated and want to move further ahead and get further up in the line.
You know, for Christmas, a lot of folks got surround sound systems, so we invite them. We'll stand silent for a lap or two. We invite you all to take that volume knob and crank it up. 29 laps complete, halfway next time by. It's now a 15-car lead draft. Ryan Newman comes by sounding very off-song.
Well, remember that car was involved in a spin yesterday.
Might have broke a valve spring. It's probably going to here. I'd come in and check it out.
Now that's teammate Richard Childress.
Valve spring then dropped.
Probably could have hurt that engine yesterday when he spun that car out. They fixed the body, but it could have hurt the engine as well.
Teams are allowed one engine change between this race and the 500 without penalty.
The reason Richard wants him to come in and check it out, because if you don't, it'll blow up. And right now you can salvage the engine.
Here's what happened yesterday in practice. An oil leak developed on Ty Dillon's car. Kurt Busch right behind it, but a little further back. Michael Waltrip got in the back of Newman's 31. And the 35, David Gilliland, got into Waltrip.
Now, did you see what the wheels, the rear wheels, they were going forward, but then when he spun, all of a sudden they started going backwards, and that's when you can hurt the engine.
Yeah, those engine builders do not like to see those rear tires go backwards.
Nope.
Newman is locked into the 500, but he is off pace at this moment. Let's get a little more team communication.
It's all lined up. 41's too far back right now, but he wants to go with you when you do. I got the 10, 14, 41. I'll say they'll go to the bottom with you, go up front.
Jimmy Johnson pulling to the inside of Martin Truex. Now the 43 of Eric Almirola. And Johnson drops into line in 8th place. Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards lead with 29 to go.
See, that's what happens.
35 laps complete as Kyle Busch leads them to the stripe. Matt Kenseth led the first 23 laps, picked up a piece of trash on the grill, started to overheat. His teammate Kyle Busch moved in front of him so Kenseth could pull up to the tail of Kyle's car, clear the grill, and that has been the only lead change of this race so far. They will need one pit stop, and if they stay green, Larry, when?
Well, based on the first duel, Mike, the leader started coming at lap 39, which is about 4 laps from now. So I look for more of the same. Now, what I do believe is those 3 Joe Gibbs Toyota drivers, they will come together. I still think most of the field will go with fuel only, but let's don't lose sight of watching Matt DiBenedetto, Robert Richardson Jr., David Gilliland, and Reed Sorensen. Those are the open drivers trying to race their way in. What happens on their pit stop?
DiBenedetto is locked into the 500 on speed, but right now he is leading that group in 10th place overall. Now Richardson, if DiBenedetto races in, as Ryan Blaney did in the first race, then Richardson gets into the 500 on speed. Gilliland and Sorensen must race their way in, and they're out of position to do that right now.
Yeah, there's some action down the back there. A couple of cars pulled out. I don't know if we're going to go anywhere or not, but we're going to try.
Teammates Kurt Busch and Danica Patrick from Stewart Haas Racing.
If you can pick up 1 or 2 spots by yourself or in a small group, it's worth taking the risk, especially when you're at the back of this group. Also, they know pit stops are coming, and why not take some risk and gain a few spots before those green flag stops come.
Yeah, and the other thing, I think everybody's waiting for the pit stop. Let's see how we shake out after the stop. Who's still in the pack and who we got to race after the stop.
And for all the fans watching at home going, well, they're just in line. I promise you, they're not going to stay this content all the way to the end. Everybody wants to win this race, but right now they know that it doesn't really count because they know a green flag stop's coming and a good chance of another caution.
Radio chatter indicates that stop is coming on this lap for those 3 Gibbs Toyotas.
Come on down here. Do not slide them. Best you can. Do not slide them.
With this many cars in a pack, you got to be careful.
Here comes almost everybody.
Do not slide them. 45.
Matt Yoakum.
And Matt Kenseth making his way to his pit stall at the end of pit road right off turn 4. We're going to see many up and down pit road fuel only. Meanwhile, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson chassis adjustment because this car was too free on entry. Chris.
Carl Edwards saying his car feeling very different than what it was here Saturday night. The car a bit loose, so just going to be no tires on this stop, just fuel. Kyle Busch also good stop down here, no tires on that car. His car is saying good up front, but when he was following Matt Kenseth, that car a little bit free into turn 1.
Now, Carl Edwards did not exit pit road with his 2 teammates. Eric Almirola stayed on the racetrack, and he will pit this time around. He was the only car not to pit.
Now, believe it or not, there are some advantages to what Eric Almirola is doing here. When you're by yourself, you have the ability to go all the way to your braking zone as you get to pit road, and you can gain a lot of speed that way.
Now, Almirola was the only car in the lead pack of 15 not to pit. Here comes Michael Waltrip, Michael Annett, Reed Sorensen, Landon Castle.
Look who made the big move on that pit stop, which I think that's what he was waiting for. Jimmy Johnson. He's right back up there now and right behind Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth, right where he wants to be. So he knew that pit stop was coming. That's what he was waiting on.
He entered the pits 8th, came out 3rd.
Yeah, nice stop, good strategy. Pass them in the pits. It's really easier that way.
Now, as you watch, you see these 3 getting a bit of a gap on the next 5 cars. But there's a pretty good chance that the momentum, and we saw this as they caught that pack earlier, as these next 5 catch up, it's all up to Casey Mears. Does he want to get up there and make a move? When he catches the 48 cars, the 48 going to take some of that pack of air and that momentum and that draft and try to make a move, or is he content with staying in line right here until they get down to the closing laps?
Now, what got Jimmy Johnson up to 3rd was that 3.8 second stop, Larry.
Well, we always like looking at the 2 laps that includes the pit stop, because this has to do with the crew and the driver, and that right there is the reason that Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, that 48 team made up all the ground. Again, that's 2 laps, including the trip to pit road.
Yeah, one thing that worries me because of that quick stop and Johnson was in there, I mean, that's going to be borderline on fuel.
We're also being told they're telling him to conserve fuel, which tells me they just barely put enough to get to the end.
Exactly. Yeah, that's going to be real borderline.
Well, and the question is, when he was in line further back in the pack, and we were kind of interested to see that he wasn't further up, was he saving fuel? That was a great opportunity for him to save fuel, so they didn't need quite as much on that pit stop.
Now, his actual stop was 1 second quicker than that of Kyle Busch, who's now leading this race.
Yeah, I tell you, a guy that's a little antsy here, and he's probably not happy about his pit stop, is that 19 of Carl Edwards. Fell back pretty far, and see what happened to Carl on his pit stop.
Chris?
Well, Mike, Carl Edwards actually just radioed into the team apologizing for the pit stop. He said, guys, I was just impatient on that. I moved on you there, so it was a little bit slower than we anticipated, and you can see they lost about 4 spots on the racetrack.
I think that's one of the reasons why we watch these guys in practice, particularly today, come in and out of the pits, practice and get on and off a pit road, and it paid off for the ones that have worked at it really hard.
I tell you something I noticed on the 19 car. Remember, in post-race, NASCAR gives them a tolerance in the rear height. They not only put fuel in the car, they lowered the rear of the car down.
Jimmy Johnson, running 3rd, was just told by Chad Knaus they are good to go on fuel. Now, that's if this race goes its advertised 50 laps or 60 laps. NASCAR has a new overtime rule. It's no longer up to 3 attempts at green, white, checker. And if it comes into play, we'll fully explain it. But the upshot is this race could go a lot longer than 60 laps if multiple overtime restarts are needed.
I think Jimmy Johnson's best friend right now is Casey Mears in that 13 car. They're going to have to see if they can work some magic here as this race winds down.
Yeah, you've got 2 Chevrolets there working together, as well as two good friends. These guys used to race together years and years ago.
Toward the end of this line is 8th place Martin Truex, running right there behind Kurt Busch. Jamie?
Well, his plan of attack was working early. He was making his moves and working his way to the front. He was inside the top 10. after that pit stop, they only took fuel, by the way, no changes. He ducked down low to the bottom side to try to hook up with the 19, another Toyota of Carl Edwards. Well, he didn't have any help, so he got hung out to dry, and now he's even farther back than he was.
Michael Waltrip makes another return visit to pit road. Ryan Newman went to the garage earlier with that engine difficulty. Both those cars are locked into the Daytona 500. Matt DiBenedetto has the transfer spot. Robert Richardson would get in on speed. The way they run right now.
Mike, I tell you, when I see that 20 car in my rearview mirror, I'd be worried. Matt Kenseth is a crafty driver, and we've said it time and time again. It reminds me of David Pearson. He's sitting there and you're looking in your mirror and you're always wondering, does he have anything left? What is he going to do? Because he always seems to know exactly where to go and what to do.
David Pearson won 105 of these races, second most all time.
Something that you're going to see here, that front group is running a high line. It's just a line that they're real comfortable with running. They can learn what that high line is like, get everybody to follow them. But what I like is what the second group is doing. They're trying to catch that group, and even though they want to draft and use the air coming off that front group, they're shortcutting the corner by running a lower line. And that's really about their only hope right now of catching this group before this race comes to an end. If there's not a caution, it's just run that shorter line, and there's a good chance they could do that. They're running maybe a little bit faster than that lead group.
Yeah, I don't know, Jeff. I looked at the times. It's going to be really hard. Allmendinger's pulling that crowd around there, and that gap's staying about 4.3 seconds, not closing down much.
And all 5 of those cars are locked into the 500. Remember back in race 1 when the 3 Roush Fenway Fords dropped to the back to run by themselves? Well, they ended up right together, but not at the back. 8th, 9th, and 10th. So they'll start midfield. There's the difference. They all sweep up to the high lane on the straightaway, but that second group looking for the short way around. Jamie?
A.J. Allmendinger, you guys mentioned him. Some new things happening with that team this year. He has a new crew chief in Randall Burnett. They also made some new hires. Ernie Cope is now overseeing operations. And A.J. told us yesterday as a group, they've got about 8 brand new race cars sitting in their shop. He said they're way ahead of the game already this year, and the speed so far in this car he's happy with. And he just radioed the team and said, tell the guys up there, let's start racing.
Thanks, Jamie. Now it's about 9 seconds from the first to the second pack, as we see from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything they learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what rolls into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR.
That second group made a little bit of a headway there. Picked up a couple of tenths, but that's not going to be enough to get up there.
No, but I thought that was a really good point. A.J. Allmendinger's leading that second group, running that shorter line. He wants those guys to start racing side by side up in front of him. He wants them to get side by side, slow that group down, and you'll be amazed how fast you can catch that group when they get side by side.
Carl Edwards is separated from his 2 teammates by 3 Chevrolets. What can he do to advance from 6th? We listened in.
78's hitching back there. He wants to go. I told him we're chilling right now, and he wants to go back there as well. I'll keep you posted if he makes any moves. If we go now, those other 5 up catches. So let's wait till about 4 to go, 3 to go.
They're going to count it down.
Well, again, that second group made a little bit of a gain. Once you get to a certain point there, that second group, they're going to really start to feel the effect of the draft. You're on the same straightaway now, about halfway down as the leaders. You're going to start feeling that, and that's going to really pick up that second group and drag them right back into this thing, maybe before this race runs out of time.
Race leader Kyle Busch compared to A.J. Allmendinger leading that second pack. Somewhere 1 mile, somewhere 2 miles an hour difference.
Yeah, you hear us talk about all the time, particularly when we're making single car runs and trying to figure how fast our car is. If there's a car on the same straightaway with you, sometimes you can get a minor effect, but these guys right now, they're getting closer and closer, and that draft's going to start to kick in here, and then they're really going to close up in a hurry.
That's exactly what I was going to say, DW, is as they get a little bit closer, they start getting more of the effects of that draft, and they'll start reeling them in much, much faster. Then the other thing that comes into play here, they're pretty calm right now. They've been in line for most of this race. When they catch that group, all of a sudden everything breaks up and the adrenaline just goes through the roof now once you get side by side.
Well, you heard the spotter say the 41 wanted to do something. If those guys could catch him and make a move down to the bottom, he could jump down there with them and maybe make some headway.
9 laps to go. Matt DiBenedetto is in the race-in spot. Robert Richardson is his teammate and biggest fan, because if DiBenedetto races in from 15th, Richardson gets into the race on speed. If David Gilliland passes DiBenedetto, Richardson goes home.
That's a lot of money for the team, for the BK Racing team. I don't know what it pays to start this race this year. Over 100 grand, I know that, and that's a lot of money.
So Richardson off pace toward the back, 40 seconds behind, may get lapped before this is over. He is his teammate's biggest fan right now as Kyle Busch pulls them around Daytona. 13 cars now in the lead draft. 8 to go.
I really think they're going to catch him.
It's going to be real close. They have really closed that gap down. It was over 4 seconds, and now it's down to 2.5, about 2.7. So that draft is really starting to kick in, and they're really starting to feel the effects of it.
And how long can that front group wait to start dicing it up? All of them want to win this race. They know they're going to have to get side by side. They're going to have to make some moves to try to get past Kyle Busch. So that will also help them close up in a hurry.
Wondering if fuel is a factor. Let's visit with Chris Neville.
Well, Mike, Casey Mears has had a great night. He's been running right near the front all night long, but his team just radioed him some bad information. They just told him you might be 2 laps short on fuel. We accidentally pulled our gas man about a second early. We needed 4 seconds, and we pulled him at 3 seconds. So you might be 2 laps short.
Oh my goodness, that is terrible news.
And that could be the difference between row 4 and row 19 starting the Daytona 500.
Yeah, and not only that, he's running right there in 4th place. You run out of fuel in front of these guys behind you, and man, somebody might run over you. That's a chance.
Right now, it's so important for this front group to work well together, stay nose to tail, stay as tight as you can. You don't want that second group to catch you. When that second group catches you, everything is going to change in this front group. And we keep seeing a gap between the 48 back to the 13. And I don't know if Casey's having some handling issues. We're seeing Jimmy kind of poke low, or if it's cooling issues, or maybe just that look further back part of that first pack just isn't quite as organized.
Well, he could be trying to save fuel. Here goes Johnson right here. He's going to shoot by Matt Kenseth.
And look at the timing.
Oh, he didn't make it.
He used the air from the cars that were about to be lapped.
Oh.
Richardson and Sorensen thought that would propel him forward, but it's Casey Mears in the 13 who goes to second place.
They used that draft after those 2 cars that they're coming up to lap. And I think Jimmy just thought he was going to catch the 20 car off a little bit and surprise him and get by him, but he didn't clear him.
Boy.
Well, this pack behind is catching them for sure now.
Oh, yeah, that's what they wanted, was them to get racing up there in front. Here they come, but I don't know where they're going to go, but they're going to catch them.
A.J. Allmendinger got his wish. They got double wide in front of him, and look at that second pack close.
Absolutely.
It's such a chess game, Mike. And Jeff, you know, if you make a move and the other guy doesn't go with you, or that hole closes up like what happened to Johnson, you are doomed.
And now it's all one pack. That's the 40 of Reed Sorensen, a lap down now. And the 26 Robert Richardson, the lapped cars, as Kenseth and Johnson in the 48 try to claw back and regain lost ground.
All the momentum from that pack that just caught Jimmy Johnson gave him a big boost through there. He gets inside of Kenseth again, but they leave him out.
No help.
They didn't help him. But he got back in line there. That was a great move.
He forced his way in front of A.J. Allmendinger, or in front of Allmendinger.
And then that energy pushed Matt Kenseth, gave him a big boost, and he goes to the inside by Martin Truex Jr. and going to get to the inside of Kurt Busch. This is going to create all kinds of racing now. You're going to see everybody going for it now. They know they've got to get up there back to the lead or up to the front if they're going to have a shot at this win.
Yeah, once Matt Kenseth's got in the position he's in, he's got a fast race car. So does Jimmy Johnson. They need to try to figure out a way to get back up there and challenge for the lead.
Coming to 3 laps to go.
I'm just worried about that 13 car, Jeff. They told him he was 2 laps short, and we're coming up in 2 laps.
Yeah, 2 laps is 5 miles.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I think maybe he was saving a little fuel there a time or two. That's why he fell back a little bit maybe. But how are you going to save fuel and stay in this lead pack?
And I think that's exactly what you're absolutely right, DW. The reason why he was hanging back a little bit is he's running quarter throttle, trying to do everything he can to save as much fuel as possible.
Yeah, just let the draft pull you along. You're not going to go anywhere, but you're not going to lose anything.
I can tell you who's not saving fuel right now, and that's Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson.
They need to work together. If they're going to win this race or have a shot, they've got to work together.
Matt had a great run, had Jimmy with him, but it didn't last long, and Jimmy's going to go with Matt's teammate, Carl Edwards, go to that high line. Going to leave Matt out to dry. Oh, whoa.
Whoa, now easy, fellas.
That's close, and Casey Mears.
And Mears is out of fuel.
Out of gas.
Out of fuel.
2 to go.
Freaking out of gas.
I tell you, the guy that's a setting duck, that 18 car out front right there, that big lead, they're going to eat him up.
They are absolutely going to eat him up. If I'm Jamie McMurray right now, I'm going to make sure I don't get too much of a gap between me and Jimmy Johnson, get all the energy from those cars behind me, get a big push, and go right on by.
Explain why, with a lap and a half to go, a big lead is the worst thing to have here.
Yeah, the more you get out there, the easier it is for cars behind you to get momentum and get a big run on you. We heard Denny Hamlin in that first duel talk about getting a run.
Whoa, baby.
Bush to block, down to the bottom, up to the top. Bush to block.
No. No. Blocking. Yeah.
Trash heap.
Fellas, we're enough. Grass at 2.
What a mess.
Matt Kenseth. His car pretty well torn up, and they will have to fix it if he's going to retain his outside front row start for the 500.
Mike,
if they go to a backup car,
that's a backup car.
That baby's crashed.
And that's
he goes
really,
to the back.
Really unfortunate.
Martin Truex.
That's exactly what you don't want to see.
And by the way,
happen.
the race is over. The leader was past the line back there.
Checkered flag, and Kyle Busch scores his 3rd dual win in 12 tries. He's won a duel 2 of the last 4 seasons. It's the 9th dual win for Joe Gibbs Racing. But some of the Daytona 500 favorites, Johnson, Truex, Kenseth, wrecked along with Allmendinger and others.
Well, we knew it was going to get dicey.
It got wild. Let's have a look.
Now, this is just a sign of how bad everybody wants to win this race. Jamie McMurray, great restrictor plate driver. He gets a good run, but he doesn't quite get there. And then he moves up to block the 48, who has a good run coming on the outside. They make contact. And here's the results of that.
Kurt Busch just went right through there in a shower of sparks. Here are the 3 most badly damaged cars. And Danica Patrick as well.
You can see where Jimmy Johnson just started to get a bumper to the rear bumper or the quarter panel of the 1.
Man, look at that 20 car go up under the back of Martin Truex car. Just lifted it off the ground.
Let's have a look from the Goodyear blimp at the overlap between the 1 and 48 as they come through the tri-oval here. So there is Jimmy Johnson, 3rd in line.
You're going to see the number 1 of Jamie McMurray getting a big run here. He's got a little bit more of a gap to the 48 than I think he'd like. He tried to make the move. Kyle closed the door. He comes up. He knows if he gets in front of Jimmy Johnson, that's going to be the push that he needs to get by the 18. Unfortunately, he was just a little late getting there, and then they make contact and turn Jimmy all the way around, and then he gets hit from behind.
Well, McMurray had to, I mean, when the 18 was so far out in front, McMurray had this incredible run, and he was coming up on the back of Kyle Busch in the 18. but he didn't have anywhere to go. And here comes Jimmy Johnson. He's got to run on McMurray, and he doesn't have anywhere to go, and they bottle up and wreck.
Now look at Kurt Busch in the 41. He's going to get a lot of damage, but he is able to continue on and finish third.
Wow.
Behind Kyle Busch and McMurray.
I guess the question will be on the 41, is that repairable damage? Will they have to go to a backup car? Because he's certainly going to get a good starting position if he finishes fourth.
I think the right side of that car is pretty torn up. I'm not sure they can fix that.
We certainly know they can't fix any of these cars.
No.
Screen.
The 20 car, watch him go up on the back of the 78.
A wild finish in Daytona for race 2 of the Can Am Duel. Stick around, we'll have complete post-race coverage on Fox Sports Live. Let's join Mike Hill and Ryan Field. Thank you, Mike. Disaster in Daytona for Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex, and others. On the final lap, it all happened behind Kyle Busch, who drives into victory lane. Chris Neville.
And Kyle Busch gets his third dual win. Kyle, I spoke to your crew chief earlier. He said, all I want is a good starting position for the 500, and I want to be able to pick a good pit box. You gave him all that.
Yeah, we did. It was, I guess it was pretty quiet and calm there for a long time until the last lap. It went kind of crazy behind me, but great car. Guys at Joe Gibbs Racing did a phenomenal job this winter building some new pieces for us to come down here with and have some fun. So looking forward to starting a Daytona 500 in the 4th spot. But I think I actually will probably get the outside front row now that Kenseth got caught up in that mess and tore up his car. So can't say enough about M&M's. They're celebrating their 75th anniversary with us this year, so we're excited about that. All the fans on every single M&M's race, the 75th lap, if you want to share your favorite M&M's memories, photos, videos, whatever, on any social media platform, please do that with us. Use the hashtag MMS75, and there's going to be some cool prizes for everybody with that. So excited about that opportunity for all the race fans to take home some cool swag. Maybe it's some Toyota stuff, maybe it's Interstate, could be some NOS Energy, who knows. But thanks, Sprint, for putting this race on. Can-Am, thank those guys. Thank all the fans for being here tonight. So a lot of fun to win these things. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, but it still means something for all the guys, everyone back at the shop. And thank TRD and the engine department, too. Thank you, guys.
Well done, Kyle. Matt?
Jimmy McMurray got out of the one car, walked around, looked at his bumper, also looked at the right rear quarter panel. You didn't see any marks. Walk us through what took place from your vantage point.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. When you look at the replay, I didn't think that the 48 was going to have enough of a run. I stalled out when I got near the 18. And I never felt him touch me, so I don't know if it was just a disturbance in the air of my car coming up. There wasn't a mark on the car, so I'm not sure. It was a pretty uneventful race. Our Cessna McDonald Chevy was really good in practice. You really didn't get to see what you had in the race because we didn't run side by side that long, but had a lot of people from Florida Hospital here tonight in one of these new suites at the racetrack, so hopefully they enjoyed themselves.
McMurray second here tonight in Daytona.
Thank you, Matt. Let's pick up Matt DiBenedetto. Raced in, finishing 9th, as well, he earns a 10th row starting spot for the 500, and that means his teammate Robert Richardson will make the 500 on speed, and that David Gilliland and Reed Sorensen are the two drivers disappointed in this one. There's DiBenedetto celebrating. Fine job. Second fastest of the open cars in qualifying and raced his way in. Here's Matt.
Robert Richardson races his way in. Can you describe just the pressure that's off you now?
Oh, that's the whole world's been lifting off of my shoulders for sure. Definitely can't thank Lane Segerstrom and everyone at Stalkit and Cornboard for giving us this opportunity. I'm sure y'all have heard the story. 2 weeks ago, I was out in my hay pastures just mowing, getting everything ready for the spring, and got a phone call from Lane that we were doing this deal. So very blessed, very honored to be here. This will be my, I think, second opportunity to run the Daytona 500, but this one's a lot more special.
Were you able to compartmentalize that stress and pressure during the race, or was it still in the back of your mind?
Oh, yeah. The whole time the whole race was going, I didn't really know where we stood as far as if we were in, if we weren't. All I could do was just try to be as smooth as possible, draft with who I could. We lost the draft there the first part of the race, and just hung on to it. And then luckily the good Lord was on our side, and we ended up bringing it home and making the Daytona 500.
Robert Richardson, he's racing on Sunday.
Yeah, great job for Ron Devine's BK Racing. Puts 4 cars in the Daytona 500. There are your Can Am Duel winners. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in a Chevrolet. Kyle Busch in a Toyota. Wins duel number 2. Well, the first race wasn't so wild. We expected the second race would be. Took all the way to the end, but oh my goodness.
Well, obviously great moments for those that won these races and those that know that they're now in the Daytona 500, but huge disappointment and heartache for those, especially in that second duel that got caught up in that wreck and have torn up race cars.
You know, Mike, I think sometime when you sit there like they did, running in line up against the wall, you don't really know what your car is capable of. And so you come to the end of the race, and all of a sudden you got to make some moves. And it looked to me like Johnson got in the corner real high, and Jeff knows it's really loose and dirty up there, and I think that just sent his car around.
Yeah, not to mention, I think that little bit that they maybe touched, unloaded that front end or loaded on the left front of Jimmy Johnson's cars, he checked up, and it just sent that car around.
Yep.
And it doesn't take much, folks. Just the equivalent of a finger push at 190 miles an hour to send one of those cars sideways. Well, we know who's in the Daytona 500, and that includes Fox Sports' Michael Waltrip with Chris Myers.
Thanks, Mike. And guys, and how was it out there?
Yeah, the car drove well. We just had a problem getting the gas in it, so we had to come back for an extra stop. But I tell you what, Jimmy Johnson did, it's the same thing you saw in the first race when Cole Witt got a little bit loose getting down into turn 1. These cars are running right on the edge, and you put them in a pack and make an abrasive move, you can really have it get away from you. So we're going to have to go to work on the number 83 Maxwell House Toyota because it's a little bit loose, and we learned that today. We look forward to Saturday and practicing some more.
Great story. Robert Richardson Jr. getting in on time because Matt DiBenedetto raced in. And Richardson Jr., he mentioned from the cow pasture now to the Great American Race out in Texas, former backup quarterback at SMU. Let's check in on Matt DiBenedetto. He's standing by with our Matt Yoakum.
A great night for BK Racing. Really sums up for the organization. This is one of those stellar nights.
Man, what a feat for us at BK Racing to get 4 cars in the Daytona 500. That's I just glad to be part of it. Glad we got all 4 cars in. That's a great start to the year. You know, financially for us, that's I mean, no better way to get jump started. So I'm just really proud to have had a TRD engine under the hood. Thank you to Toyota, Michael Waltrip for helping our partnership with Toyota. Dustless Blasting, Cosmo Motors, Dr. Pepper, and Iwata. Just all the great sponsors and support we have here at BK Racing. I'm, man, to be able to compete in my first Daytona 500 this coming weekend, it's just, it's been a dream of mine since I was 5 years old. I cannot believe it's here. I get to compete in the Great American Race. I'm so proud of my guys. Just this is so amazing to be here. I'm so thankful to be driving in the Sprint Cup Series. Just going to be really fun.
Good luck on Sunday. Jamie?
So many different emotions. Martin Truex Jr. 1 lap, less than a lap to finishing there, and now the car is destroyed. You're going to a backup. Do you know anything about the backup?
I don't, but I mean, I'm sure it'll be okay. Our guys build really good race cars, and you know, it's a shame. It's 2 cars on the last lap in 2 races in turn 1, so a little bit frustrating. You know, just going to have another decent run there. Where, you know, everything was looking good. The car was. I was really happy with it tonight. Yeah, just unfortunate. I was kind of committed to the middle toward the high side, and I seen the 48 completely sideways in front of me, and I was like, he's going to hit the car on the inside and come back up the track, and I couldn't get turned down below him. So just one of them deals. It's frustrating, but it's, you know, it's restrictor plate racing, so we'll work hard on getting our backup car ready and getting it ready for Sunday, and hopefully be able to get up through the field and get somewhere towards the front in a safe spot. But it's tough to catch any luck so far this speed weeks.
Thanks, Martin. Chris?
Thank you, Jamie. And so the second duel goes to Kyle Busch, who not only got Toyota its first ever win in the Cup Series, 10 years in the series, but its first championship, NASCAR Sprint Cup champion, hoping to give Toyota its first ever Daytona 500 victory in the Sprint Cup. A quick recap here with Michael Waltrip. Duel 1, he was watching, observing, and this is where Cole Witt, Michael McDowell had to block him, and Michael McDowell worked his way into the 500.
Just throwing a Hail Mary, Chris. It was all that he could do to try to battle his way into that race.
And then Dale Earnhardt Jr., 15 years to the day that his father passed away on this track, said, I was thinking about my old man, daydreaming today about winning this race because of the day. Meanwhile, Toyota's just dominating from start to finish. Kyle Busch leading 35 laps. Kenseth 23 before the wreck with a lap to go.
Johnson tried to cut hard into turn one. He had a guy behind him. Whether they made contact or not wasn't really clear. He got pushed up the hill, and those cars are right on the edge of control at 200 miles an hour into turn one, and that's what happens when one gets away from you.
A combined 4 Daytona 500 wins lost in that wreck with Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson. Truex, you heard from Danica Patrick, Allmendinger, Kurt Busch involved, but Kyle Busch picking up the victory. So this is the way it looks. And interesting, the 20-year-old rookie Chase Elliott, the youngest to ever start on the pole for the Daytona 500. He was 2 years old when Matt Kenseth ran his first race. Matt will be 44 years old next month. And then look at that second row with Earnhardt Jr. and Kyle Busch.
And I think it's going to be Hendrick versus the Gibbs cars. Those have showed the most speed. The Penske cars are strong as well. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, both drivers that can get it done on this track. Denny Hamlin talked about the speed, and you just talked about the Toyotas, and he ran well tonight before Junior took the lead from him late in that dual one.
And Danica Patrick was solid in her race. Talked to her before the race started. She loves her car, thinks it's handling well. Could be the key to her having a good Sunday.
Trevor Bayne, one of the upset winners. Remember when he won, the youngest ever to win the Daytona 500. He was 125 to 1 long shot in Las Vegas. By the way, the early numbers, there's Brad Keselowski, who's yet to win anything on this particular track at Daytona, although he's been a Sprint Cup champion. Casey Mears hanging around before he ran out of fuel tonight. This is a race where long shots can win it.
That's exactly right. I did, Chris, so that tells you.
Twice it happened. That's really a long shot. And Michael McDowell, Robert Richardson Jr., the drama of getting the last few spots.
What a great story for Robert Richardson Jr. He was in the Texas fields a couple weeks ago. Now he's in the Daytona 500.
The great American race here, and those who gave it their best shot but couldn't get in. Let's check in now as Kyle Busch celebrates in victory lane with some M&Ms. Jamie Little standing by with not one, but 2 drivers. Jamie.
Yes, Jimmy Johnson first up here showed tremendous speed with that car, single car speed today. Now it's destroyed. You're going to a backup. What did you see, Jimmy?
Yeah, sad to lose that car. It was really, really good. With the one had a run on the 18 and it didn't pan out getting underneath him, and that allowed me to come to the outside. And then Jamie came up to defend that, and I was unfortunately outside of him, and I could see where it was taking us, and we were going to hook bumpers and crash. And I tried to get out of the hole, and it didn't work, and I kind of skipped off the wall and turned around in front of everybody. So just an aggressive move, and sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Just bummed out we lost our race car.
All right, thanks for your time, Jimmy. And now I'll turn over to Matt Kenseth, who everybody has eyes on you and the 24 because you guys were locked in starting on the front row. Now your car is destroyed, and you too will have to start in the back. What's going through your mind after all that?
I was just listening to the wreck, what happened there. So, yeah, Jason was saying, once we got shuffled, he was telling me to bail out down the front stretch, and I was actually trying to find a hole to get out of there. And I seen the wreck happen a while before it started and tried to start slowing down, and just car ran over from behind and got pushed into the wreck. So it's beyond disappointing, but you got to practice at some point. You got to go out there and try to get your runs and try to figure out how you can make it pass. So it all started with debris on the grill. I thought we had control of the race, and we got back to second, and it just didn't work out.
All right, thanks, Matt, for your time.
Matt Kenseth, part of that front row. You'll see it on Fox, the great American race with Chase Elliott. And it's interesting, historically, usually starting up front, this is a race where people can move from back and forth, but nearly 30% of the time in the history of the Daytona 500, and this is the 58th running on Sunday, nearly 30% of the time, the driver who starts in the front row winds up winning the race, I should say. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., a 5-1 favorite. He's done nothing but cement that coming into the week. Who else can give him a serious challenge?
Well, when you talk down on the grid, I was with some guys at pre-race, Matt Kenseth particularly. He said Junior's got the fastest car. He made moves in that first race that he didn't see anyone else being able to make. But those Gibbs cars, they've got the speed too. Kyle Busch proved that just then. They were solid at the front of the field. Hamlin won the Unlimited. I think it's a toss-up between the Gibbs cars and Dale Jr. Dale Jr. the favorite, though.
You sound out of breath as long as you're not out of fuel.
No.
And good luck. You have a run.
I ran low on fuel.
In your 29th running of the Great American Race.
Got lots of coffee.
With Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, our entire gang here. Kyle Busch, the dual winner in the first duel. It went to Dale Earnhardt Jr., and we're gearing up for Sunday's running of the Daytona 500 from right here. Right now, let's go back to Ryan Field in Los Angeles.
That 24 is pushed out there. You're clear. You're clear.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will win his dual race for the second year in a row.
Around.
Well, yeah, but
you're already in your backup. Okay.
Yeah, but we wanted to see what it would do. And we also